policies in our society is to ensure that people live healthy. And we do this through promotion. In promotion, we promote people's way of life, having them engage in physical exercises, having them have good nutrition, safe water, safe environment to promote health. And we also go ahead to talk about the preventive measures, proper hand washing, that will prevent one from transferring disease from one person to another. We go about preventing injuries in the home and where we work. We also talk about rehabilitation, because we have tried.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Barry Kumo Ado. In the headlines, Appeal Court affirms Labour Party candidate as winner of Basa Jos Federal Constituency of Plateau State. Shetima urges stronger ties between federal government and traditional institutions. UK Prime Minister meets with law enforcement agencies to tackle border crisis. And Ronaldo delighted after scoring 900th goal. Details shortly. A member of the House of Representatives representing Basa Jos North Federal Constituency of Plateau State, Daniel Asama, has described the judgment of the Appeal Court affirming his victory at the polls as a commitment to justice and the will of the people. The Court of Appeal in Abuja on Friday upheld the judgment of a National Assembly Election Tribunal, which had declared Asama of the Labour Party as the winner of the by-election in the Basa Jos North Federal Constituency. Addressing journalists in Abuja shortly after the ruling, the lawmaker assured his constituents of effective representation, saying it will attract development to the area as well as initiate bills for the progress and stability of the country. He expressed gratitude to God and the people of Basa Jos North Federal Constituency and Plateau State as a whole for their unwavering support. He also commended the judiciary for demonstrating its commitment to justice and the will of the people, and demonstrating that it remains the last hope of a common man.
Security matters are truly secret. But I want you to know that there is a lot that the government in the state has put in place. The federal government in itself too has been extending a lot of hands of support. The security apparatus have been doing a lot. We have a lot of herders, farmers, meetings and bilateral understandings. We talk a lot. There has been a lot of organized, intentional approaches towards mitigating this matter.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for stronger ties between federal government and traditional institutions. He made a call on Friday when he paid a condolence visit to Ningi Emirate in Bauchi State over the demise of late Emir of Ningi, Alhaji Yunusa Muhammad Danyaya. He commended the late Emir for his 88 years of service to the nation. Not only did he become the longest reigning Emir in the history of Ningi, but served the nation in various capacities even before his enthronement. He reaffirmed the commitment of President Bola Tinubu's administration to continue to engage royal fathers as key stakeholders in national development and social cohesion. Shettima used the occasion to congratulate the newly installed Emir, Alhaji Haruna Yunusa Danyaya, and the eldest son of the late Emir.
As we mourn, it is important to reflect on the immense value that our traditional institutions represent in this country. They are not only the custodians of our cultures, values, and history, but the very backbone of our society. These institutions serve as a reminder of our origins and offer inspiration to see the essence of our diversity in all that we do. The emirate under our late father's stewardship was a guiding light for many, and his contributions will not be forgotten. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has asked me to express his deepest sympathy to you, to His Excellency the Governor of Bauchi State, to His Royal Highness the Emir of Ningi, the Ningi Emirate, and the people of Bauchi during these difficult times. He extends his profound support for the exemplary leadership that has characterized the Emirate through peaceful transitions.
Earlier, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi thanked Shettima for visiting the state. He described him as a man of modesty and humility who stands out as a leader who respects everybody.
In the discharge of your onerous duty as our leader in the country, when Nigeria is looked from the governance structure, you lead the North and you are second in command. You left whatever you are doing to come and condole with His Royal Highness and the Emirate, and indeed the government and people of Bauchi, over the loss of one of our illustrious fathers, the late Emir of Ningi. It is a double-edged sword, because today you are also congratulating his son, his eldest son, as the brand new Emir of Ningi, my friend Alhaji Haruna Inusa Mohammed Danyaya. I will not waste time. We are very, very grateful for this visit. We know it has always been your tradition. You have respected every segment of this country, especially your responsibility to us, coming from the Northeast, from the North, and from the country. We are not surprised, Your Excellency, by this tradition that we have.
Responding, the new Emir thanked the Vice President for visiting to commiserate with them over the death of his father and to meet with the Emirate Council.
Thank you for this kind condolence visit over the days of my eldest, my father, eldest statesman. His Royal Highness Alhaji Inusa Mohammed Danyaya, OON, I also greatly congratulate you to my new appointment and as successor.
Shettima also, on behalf of President Tinubu, also visited Kaduna State to commiserate with the state government and family of the late Justice Taminu Zailani, former Chief Judge of the state. The Vice President, who expressed sadness over the demise of Justice Zailani, prayed that Allah grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus and grant the family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Justice Zailani served as head of the Kaduna State Judiciary and was the Chief Judge of the High Court of Kaduna State from 2013 to 2018. We'll now take a short break. A Sokoto's Chief Magistrate Court on Friday remanded Shafiu Umaru in a correction center for allegedly circulating falsehood against Governor Ahmed Aliyu and his wife on social media platform. Umaru, 37, who was the special assistant to former Governor Aminu Tambuwal, is charged with circulating injurious falsehood and a matter known to be defamatory. The case was first mentioned on August 26, when the police prosecutor, Inspector Abdul Rahman Mansour, told the court that the offense contravened the penal code. Prosecution alleged that the defendant circulated a video of the governor's wife, Hajia Fatima Aliyu, spraying money during a birthday ceremony in spite of a present hardship faced by citizens, and equally accused him of sharing a document that indicated that Governor Aliyu failed a senior secondary school examination scored F9 and is incapable of speaking English. The lead defense counsel, Al-Mustafa Abubakar, made an oral application for bail, which was objected to by the prosecution before the magistrate reserved for ruling. In our ruling, Chief Magistrate Fatih Hassan said the only document before her was a first information report, and in recognition of the nature of the offense, the defense counsel needs to file a formal application for his client's bail. Hassan adjourned the case until September 18 and ordered that the defendant should be remanded in a correctional facility. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Friday handed over 53 recovered vehicles and $180,300 to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, on behalf of the victims of financial crimes in Canada. The chairman of the commission, Ola Olukoyede, handed over the recovered assets to the representatives of RCMP in Abuja. The RCMP was represented by Nasser Sadio, its regional officer, and Robert Abometre, the first secretary and deputy high commissioner of Canada in Nigeria. Olukoyede said 9 of the vehicles stolen from Canada were tracked to customs port, where they were waiting clearance, while the $164,000 was covered for a Canadian, Elena Bogomas, in a romance scam, while $16,300 was also recovered for another Canadian, Sandra Butler. He said one of the fraudsters used his proceeds to buy an estate and was later arrested, prosecuted and jailed, while the property was sold to recover the funds. Olukoyede said the exercise was a demonstration of the EFCC's commitment to the interagency cooperation in the country and the fact that the Nigerian government does not tolerate financial crimes. Sadio, in his remarks after the signing of the documents for the transfer of the recovered assets, thanked the government of Nigeria and the EFCC for the fight against corruption. Abometre, in his remarks, lauded the partnership between the Canadian government and the federal government of Nigeria, saying that the partnership had been yielding positive results. At least 467 Nigerians were killed in 4 states of Kaduna, Benue, Katsina, and Plateau states between July and August 2024. The National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, which disclosed this on Friday, also revealed that about 1,200 end-bad governance protesters have so far been arrested and detained by security agencies across the country. The Commission, which lamented that some of the protesters have been charged to court, however noted with grave concern that they were detained beyond the period permitted by the Constitution of the country before being taken to court. Senior Human Rights Advisor to the Executive Secretary of the NHRC, Hilary Obonna, while presenting its July and August 2024 human rights situation in Nigeria, said a total of 414,200 complaints against human rights abuses were received by the Commission across the country in the last 2 months. The Commission insisted that protest is not a crime in Nigeria, but a legitimate way of expressing grievances against unfavorable government policies and programs, insisting that government should not attempt to stop protest, but be guided by it. Speaking earlier, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Professor Tony Ojukwu, condemned the use of brutal force by security agents against the protesters last month, while pointing out that the End Bad Governance protest was people's quest for good governance. The NHRC boss urged the government to take sustainable action in ensuring the protection of the people affected by displacement. The General Officer Commanding GOC of the 82 Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Hassan Dada, says that the organization is still dedicated to ensuring the well-being of its soldiers. Dada made the statement on Friday in Enugu during the opening of 2 welfare initiatives for division employees at the 82 Division headquarters in Enugu and the Abapa military cantonment. Projects comprise 82 Division Regimental Sergeant Major ISM House in Abapa military cantonment and the GOC's Driver's Lodge at 82 Division headquarters. Said that the initiatives will meet the needs of the soldiers and increase their drive. He applauded the 82 Division General Officer for understanding his COAS strong administrative concept, which is based on placing the well-being of the troops first. The troops' performance and track record of exceptional successes have been enhanced by the COAS philosophy and initiatives of putting welfare programs in place. He said the South-South and Southeast zones, residents and businesses will continue to enjoy sufficient protection through the joint activities of the 6th Division and the 82 Division. The symbolic handing over of the division's RSM House key was one of the highlights of the day. It will be recalled that the COAS on August 31st inaugurated 4 projects, which included Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja Swimming Pool Complex, renovated 4 blocks of 2-story building accommodation, GOC Guest House, GRA, and House Number 7, Abakaliki Road, Enugu. The Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Ahmed Audi, has deployed Joachim Okafor to Rivers State as a new state commandant. Joachim Okafor replaces Basil Igwebueze, who is now deployed to the Corps headquarters in Abuja. Speaking during a brief handing over ceremony at the NSCDC state headquarters in Port Harcourt, Okafor promised to collaborate with critical stakeholders in Rivers State to safeguard critical national assets and infrastructure, as well as protect life and property of citizens. The new commandant also pledged to work in synergy with the government and all sister security agencies, community and religious leaders, civil society organizations, the media, and others in combating crude oil theft, pipeline vandalism, environmental degradation, and other associated crimes in the state. Commandant Okafor thanks the Commandant General Abubakar Audi for the privilege to serve, pledged to work relentlessly to promote the integrity of the Corps while serving the nation with utmost dedication. His Zonal Commander in charge of Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River State, Anyela Olowo, said the new commandant is an experienced, highly resourceful, and dedicated officer who has served in various capacities in NSCDC formations across the nation. He said posting and deployment of officers within the NSCDC is not a punishment, but an opportunity to enhance their performance and develop their potential. Until his deployment, Commandant Joachim Okafor was the Corps State Commandant, Niger State. The leadership of the Northern Christian Youth Professionals wants President Bola Tinubu to take decisive action to address the current economic hardship in the country. The chairman of the group, Isaac Abrak, who made this known in a press statement issued on Friday in Kaduna, expressed concern about the price surge of petrol and its effect on the nation's economy. Abrak noted that the current surge in PMS prices is apparently not the outcome envisioned by President Bola Tinubu when he made the courageous decision to remove oil subsidy. He therefore enjoined the president to take decisive action to address the current situation to ensure that his campaign promises of making life easier for all Nigerians is fulfilled, when advising him to appoint a substantive minister of petroleum. This, according to him, is because as a commander-in-chief, Tinubu is already shouldering numerous responsibilities, including addressing pressing national issues such as insecurity and food shortages. Adegboyega Oyetola, Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to improving port infrastructure. They're the second Enyigbeti Blue Economic Project and book launch at the Oriental Hotel in Lekki, Lagos. the minister reiterated his commitment. The book is entitled Renaissance of a Hingbeti in the Lagos Blue Economy. Enhancing port infrastructure is still a top priority for the ministry, according to Oyetola, who was speaking on behalf of Dr. Dayo Moberola, the Director General, DG of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. The main goal of the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, according to him, was to improve port infrastructure, create a solid policy and implementation plan for the marine and blue industry. However, said there were challenges of infrastructure decay, high cost of shipping, environmental degradation, physical alteration, and destruction of marine and coastal habitat, safeguard the environmental sustainability of the seas and coastal regions while fostering development, social inclusion, and the preservation of livelihoods. The minister said Hingbeti showed a shared commitment to developing Nigeria's new economy and unlocking the full potential of its marine and coastal resources. A license to construct LTC to build a 2.8 million tons per annum MTPA floating LNG facility has been awarded by the federal government to UTM Offshore Limited. This was disclosed by Ekperikbe Ekpo, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, on Friday in Abuja when the company's license was granted. The permit was handed over to Farouk Ahmed, the CEO of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. Ekpo said the permit was a historic first because it will be Nigeria's first floating LNG facility with a goal of increasing gas production and consumption in the nation. Ekpo said that the federal government was committed to providing a conducive environment that would ensure realization of his dream of increasing gas production to 12 billion cubic feet by 2030. Earlier, the NMDPR chief executive said that the project located offshore Akwa Ibom State in OML 104 will process 324 million standard cubic feet per day of natural gas. Ahmed said that the project, initially designed for a capacity of 1.2 MTPA UTM offshore, upgraded the facility's scope to meet rising global LNG demand, resulting in an increased capacity of 2.8 MTPA. According to him, the project aligns with the main aspirations of the PIA 2021, which includes the expansion of midstream gas facilities in Nigeria. Ahmed reaffirmed the NMDPR's commitment to providing guidance and oversight for the project's successful implementation, while also ensuring it complied with all regulatory requirements throughout its life cycle. Still to come, NEMA emphasizes significance of data in disaster risk management. Akwa Ibom records 5 cases of Mpox. Stay with us. The Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mrs. Zubaida Umar, has emphasized the significance of data in disaster risk management. Umar, who spoke at a workshop organized by NEMA in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, in Abuja, said that effective decision-making relied on both quantitative and qualitative data. Umaru was represented by the Director, Disaster Risk Reduction, Daniel Obot, underscored the importance of collaboration among stakeholders to ensure that no one was left behind in disaster response efforts. She acknowledged the support from the government of Sweden and the UNDP, which facilitated the acquisition of equipment for data collection, and charged participants to show commitment to achieving the objectives of the workshop. Mr. Osman Kibon from the Center for Disaster Risk Management and Development Studies at the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria said the project, when concluded, would help the Nigerian government and policymakers make proper plan for development. Effort to reach zero emissions, the Lagos State government has established a register to track carbon emissions throughout the state. Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, LASEPA, General Manager Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, gave this information on Friday at a webinar event hosted by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. The webinar's theme was ensuring just enforcement of carbon footprint emissions, a call to action. Some climate change stakeholders at the event stated the need to take actions via just enforcement of carbon footprint emissions to reduce the country's carbon footprint and ensure sustainability. Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadiri, Director General MAN, noted that Africa presented very unique challenges that demanded uniquely crafted and tailor-made solutions that cater to its climate change needs. He, however, stressed the importance of not losing sight of the present socio-economic challenges of unemployment, energy poverty, and low technology penetration that impede the continent's development while pursuing climate change actions. Ajayi Kadiri said the event was an opportunity to share knowledge and best practices and collaborate on solutions to address carbon emissions in the industry. Expert in sustainability and economist Dr. Matthew Ojo pointed out that the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement acknowledged that the different regions and sectors affected differently by climate change. According to him, the agreement included proposals for just enforcement, transition principles such as sustainability, equity, and fairness. The Plateau Independent Electoral Commission, PLACIEC, has been urged by the Coalition of Civil Society Organizations, CSOs, in Plateau to hold a credible and orderly local government election in the state. Coalition made a call on Friday in Jos while visiting the Commission's management. The leader of the coalition, Mr. Gard Peter, praised the state administration and the Commission for their dedication to holding the poll. According to him, the purpose of the visit was to remind the Commission of the necessity of holding a statewide election. Gard, who promised coalition support to the Commission towards a credible poll, further called on it to be fair, just, and make the election inclusive. He also called on the Commission to create proper awareness about the election. Responding, Mr. Plangi Shishak, Chairman of the Commission, represented by the Secretary, Mr. Pam Davo, thanked the Commission for the visit. Shishak told the coalition that the Commission had been operating devoid of interference from government. The chairman promised to partner with all relevant stakeholders towards conducting a credible, fair, and peaceful election in the state. The Akwa Ibom Ministry of Health, Disease Surveillance and Notification Officer, Mr. Samuel Etuk, reports that the state has 5 incidents of monkeypox, mpox. In an interview with reporters in Review on Friday, Etuk revealed the most recent instance, stating that the state government has previously declared 4 outbreaks. According to him, 4 out of the 30 samples that were obtained for diagnostics from various local government districts were positive for mpox. Etuk said that contact tracing for any transmission was being conducted while the affected persons had been kept in isolation. The disease surveillance officer said that 10 community-based informants have been engaged to work in catchment areas. Etuk advised members of the public to report suspected cases of the disease to the nearest health facility or call Nigeria Center for Disease Control Office in the area. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation, AHF Nigeria, is urging immediate global action to address vaccine disparity, which is seriously impeding the continent's ability to respond effectively as the latest mpox outbreak continues to pose a health danger in Africa. The request was made by the foundation on Friday in a statement. It said that it had led the charge in lobbying for a pandemic pact that guarantees developing countries equitable access to vaccines and treatments. Concerns were also expressed by AHF Nigeria about how the current handling of the mpox outbreak is similar to the disparities that were shown during the COVID-19 pandemic. Stated that at least 13 African countries have been affected by the serious mpox outbreak, which is mostly lethal for youngsters, with more than 22,800 confirmed cases and more than 620 deaths reported this year. The Democratic Republic of Congo has a branch, accounting for 96% of cases and 7% of deaths. The World Health Organization declared Mpox a global health emergency on August 14, 2024. AHF's advocacy extends beyond immediate vaccine delivery. The organization is also pushing for a review of the WHO pandemic agreement, which has so far failed to ensure fair access to vaccines and therapies for underdeveloped countries. The existing pandemic agreement's shortcomings are reflected in the Mpox outbreak that we are witnessing. While wealthy nations are able to obtain vast supplies of vaccines for their residents, many African nations were unable to supply the majority of their citizens with even one dosage. It stressed that without such measures, the international community risks repeating the same mistakes with pandemics that has happened. The Bauchi state government has expressed its commitment to addressing neglected tropical diseases in the state. State Commissioner of Health, Dr. Adamu Sambo, gave the assurance while speaking at the closure of the Triasis project and handing over of a transition plan to the state government by the Health and Development Support Program in collaboration with SafeSite, a non-governmental organization. Commissioner was represented by the state chairman of the Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Riwanu Mohammed, explained trachoma remains the world's leading cause of blindness and among the neglected tropical diseases. In a remark, the Northeast Zonal Coordinator of the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Awa Abubakar, commended all the partners for coming together to fight the menace of trachoma and triasis in Bauchi State. She stressed that the fight against neglected tropical diseases is part of the priorities of the Federal Ministry of Health. Flooding at the Afia Ekwe Building Materials Market, Ogidi, Ogbunike, in Idemili North, Oyi local government area of Anambra State, destroyed products and property believed to be worth millions of naira. Large portions of the market were inundated by the water brought on by continuous rain, causing merchants' products to float, while some of them struggled to rescue what was left of their wares. Some of the vendors who spoke with newsmen in separate interviews claimed that a heavy rain on Thursday night caused the market to overflow at midnight, regretting the terrible damage. While lamenting the extent of the devastation caused, Market Chairman Adino Onyechi stated that flooding is a yearly occurrence and a natural calamity. Onyechi said the drainage system is narrow and needs to be extended to contain the volume of flood that comes from Ogidi and Ogbunike communities. He regretted that people in charge of the market were primarily concerned with making money off the merchants and not the well-being of traders themselves. Alhaji Babagana Ibrahim, the chairman of Bade local government area of Yobe State, says 20 people have perished as a result of the terrible floods that have ravaged the area since early August. In Gusau on Friday, Ibrahim told the reporters that the majority of the dead were civilians who were buried beneath the rubble of fallen mat dwellings. According to Ibrahim, flood devastated more than 10,000 homes and agricultural land in 200 localities. The chairman mentioned Mishili, Lawan, Musa, Dangona, Dalla, Katuzu, Samungarin, Gashua, Dabuje, Sangotu, and Goodluck as the villages severely affected by the catastrophe. He said that 3 camps in Gashua were housing 2,000 people who had been affected by the disaster. Ibrahim said the council, despite its mega resources, had been feeding the displaced persons since they came to the camps. He said that Senator Ahmed Lawa, former Senate President, recently donated 10 million to the victims, while the state was already distributing non-food items to the victims. He urged the federal government to come to the aid of the flood victims, whose population was increasing by the day. The Jigawa State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, has made a plea for corporate entities that do business in the state to assist those affected by flooding. The appeal was made by Executive Secretary Dr. Haruna Meiriga on Friday during an interview in Dutse. According to Mayriga, corporate entities ought to consider such acts as a component of their corporate social responsibility, CSR. It clarified that the victims suffering will be lessened by the gesture. The executive secretary revealed that 5 million naira had been provided to support the victim by Jai's Bank. The agency said held an emergency meeting with its stakeholders to review the 2024 flood incident, and some assistance has been offered to the victims. Giving an update on the level of damage caused by the flood, Mayriga said that 39 persons lost their lives, 12,000 hectares of farmlands were washed away, 8,500 houses affected, and 15,000 people were displaced. He added that some of the victims who lost their homes were camped in schools. Executive Secretary added that most of the deaths recorded were as a result of building collapse and blamed the victims for not heeding the advice of the authorities. According to him, the state government has established a clinic in each of the camps and has provided adequate drugs to prevent an outbreak of diseases. Mayriga was assured of adequate provision of clean water in camps, called for more security presence. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, says it is dedicated to helping the Katsina state government reduce the number of children who are not in school. This was revealed by Mr. Rahman Farai, the chief of UNICEF's Kano Field Office, during the courtesy visit to Hajia Zainab Musawa, State Commissioner for Education. Farai said the visit was to reaffirm UNICEF's dedication to assist children in their academic pursuits. The head of UNICEF stated that more support is coming to address out-of-school children to Sangan schools with vocational skills to make them more relevant in the society. Additionally, he said UNICEF will give the government more assistance with the Nigerian Learning Passport and Teacher Management Information System, TMIS, congratulating the state for becoming second in NLP enrollment. Farai also felicitated with Musawa for his appointment as Commissioner of Basic and Secondary Education. Responding, the Commissioner pledged to scale up pending UNICEF activities for the education development of Katsina State. Musawa will disclose strategic plans in overhauling the education system of the state, also restated government's commitment under Governor Diko Rada in working with development partners to achieve the desired objective. She also thanked the UNICEF chief for the visit, which she described as timely and significant. A Memorandum of Understanding MOU supporting gender equality in leadership has been signed by a few media executives and the United Nations UN Women. During the UN Women Roundtable with media executives in Ikeja, Lagos, Ms. Beatrice Eyang, the country representative of the UN Women and ECOWAS, signed the document. She reminded the executive that UN Women makes investments to support women's professional and personal development so that they can contribute more to leadership, economic growth, peace, security, and humanitarian work. Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, must be achieved, according to Eyang, who also noted that Nigeria has been falling short. Several media executives from Nigerian Television Authority, News Agency of Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria, Lagos Television, and the Guardian Media Group are among those who signed the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. Founder of Women in Successful Careers, Mrs. Amina Oyebola, urged media executives to prioritize promoting gender equality. The Ekiti State Governor, Biodun Oyebanji, has approved a work-from-home arrangement for civil servants in the state in order to cushion the effects of the current economic situation on workers in the state. Statement by Yinka Oyebode, Special Advisor on Media to the Governor, said that under the new arrangement, officers on levels 01 to 07 work from home 3 days a week, while officers on levels 08 to 12 are to work from home 2 days a week, and those on levels 13 to 17 will work from home once a week. The new arrangement will commence on Monday, September 9, 2024. It excludes workers on essential services like teachers, core health workers in hospitals, and security personnel, among others. According to the Governor's directive, each ministry, department, or agency expected to produce a workable schedule for staff to ensure that the new work from home arrangement does not jeopardize effective service delivery. The arrangement will be in place for a period of 2 months and is subject to periodic review in line with prevalent circumstances. Also, the arrangement does not affect other palliative measures put in place by the state government, including the monthly wage award for workers and pensioners and the free bus service for workers and students. A bank draft for 2 million naira was given to the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, by Adegboyega Awomolo, a former recipient of student loans. This stated in a statement released on Friday in Abuja by Mona Lisa Dike from the fund's Corporate Communications Department. According to Dike, Awomolo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, benefited from the loan from 1975 to 1977 while pursuing his undergraduate degree at the University of Ife, which is now known as Obafemi Awolowo University. She noted, by fully returning the loan, senior attorney showed a steadfast dedication to the country. The loan, which at the time cost 1,000 naira for 2 sessions, was crucial in assisting him in finishing his legal education. Awolowo's patriotic gesture is yet another brilliant illustration of a long-lasting worth of education and the significance of carrying out one's duty. She remarked that it shows the strength of morality which still exists among Nigerians. On the other hand, she stated that the money will go towards paying for the students' current needs for a loan. Federal Ministry of Education has denied that it stopped students who were not up to 18 years from writing the West Africa Schools Certificate Examination, WASC, and the National Examinations Council, NECO exams. The Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, made a clarification in Abuja on Friday while fielding questions from journalists at an event to mark the 2024 International Literacy Day. Sununu said there was a public misconception and misrepresentation of what was said by the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, about the age limit for candidates sitting for various exams in the country. He said that the minister was actually speaking on the 18 years entry age into tertiary institutions, as was practiced in the 6334 system of education, but that it was being agreed that the idea is still a work in progress, which also involves the National Assembly. Recall that Education Minister Tahir Maman had, on August 25th, said the federal government instructed the West African Examinations Council WAEC and the National Examinations Council NECO not to allow underage children to write the examinations. Up ahead, rain from Super Typhoon Yagi slams Wenchang, China. Sandilands and Stories secure para-athletics and road cycling gold for Team GB. Stay with us. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer visited the National Crime Agency NCA headquarters on Friday before attending a summit to tackle the smuggling of migrants across the English Channel. Starmer is under pressure to fulfill his pledge to smash the gangs who bring asylum seekers to Britain in boats and pledged deeper cooperation on the issue with French President Emmanuel Macron in talks in Paris last week. The British government announced new plans on Wednesday to reduce the number of asylum seekers who arrive in small boats, including an increase in deportation flights and a crackdown on employers who hire illegal workers.
I am absolutely focused on stopping people arriving in the first place. I think there's this general sense with the small boats that the last government lost control of the borders and that it's the criminal gangs who are deciding who comes to the UK. That's not acceptable. So I want to stop people arriving in the first place. If and when they do arrive, I think it's very important they're processed, and if they've got no right to be here, they're returned. I think the priority has to be on taking down the gangs that are exploiting vulnerable people, including children. Tragic deaths this week, but we've seen other examples of that. These are people who are being exploited by those gangs. That has to stop.
Polls show that controlling immigration is now the most important issue for British voters for the first time in 8 years, following far-right riots targeting Muslims and migrants that began after the murder of 3 girls in a mass stabbing in the town of Southport in northwest England, and the rapid spread of false information on social media that the suspect was a radical Islamist migrant. Prime Minister Michel Barnier said on Friday that France's next government will not be limited to members of its own conservative political grouping, but would also include members of President Emmanuel Macron's centrist camp. In his first interview as government chief following his nomination on Thursday, Barnier said his government, which lacks a clear majority in a hung lower house of parliament, would also be open to members of the left. Prime Minister also said that though it would not repeal Macron's contested pensions reform, which lifted the legal retirement age by 2 years to 64, but would start a debate to improve it. A nomination of 73-year-old Barnier, a conservative and a former Brexit negotiator, capped a 2-month-long search following Macron's ill-fated decision to call a legislative election that delivered an unruly hung parliament. It faces the daunting task of trying to drive reforms and a 2025 budget through a hung parliament as France is under pressure from the European Commission and bond markets to reduce its deficit. Migrants from India were deported on Friday from Panama in the country's first intercontinental repatriation flight, financed by the United States as part of an agreement between the two countries to discourage irregular crossings and reduce the flow of mostly U.S.-bound migration. According to local media, the flights departed from the Panama Coastal Province, where Panamanian officials frisked migrants before boarding a plane bound for Delhi. 130 people were repatriated. According to the National Migration Service Director, Roger Mojica, over 240,000 migrants arrived in Panama through the dangerous Darien Gap at the Colombian border. Mojica said the number of migrants entering Panama has dropped by 30% since President José Raúl Mulino took office. Italian Culture Minister Gennaro Sangiuliano quit on Friday after controversy over a consultancy role for his former mistress that had become an embarrassment for Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's government. Sangiuliano, a 62-year-old former journalist, has faced a media storm since self-proclaimed fashion entrepreneur Maria Sorosita Bossia said last month she had been nominated advisor to the minister for major events. The Culture Ministry initially denied such an appointment, but Sangiuliano later explained he had agreed to take her on as an unpaid consultant, but changing his mind due to conflict of interest. Meloni quickly picked Alessandro Guilli, head of the Maxi Contemporary Arts Museum in Rome, as new culture minister, to be sworn in later on Friday. It was the first ministerial replacement in a right-wing government, which has over the past 2 years looked solid with high popularity ratings and facing a divided opposition. Heavy rain and strong winds bearing through Wencham in Chinese Hainan on Friday was captured on video and shared on social media as Asia's strong storm this year, Super Typhoon Yagi, made landfall in Hainan province. Newsmen were able to confirm the location by the buildings, road layout, trees and utility poles seen in a video which matched satellite imagery of the area. The date was verified by reports of Typhoon Yagi making landfall on Friday, packing maximum sustained winds of 234 kilometers per hour near its center. Yagi brought violent gales and heavy rain that triggered widespread power outages, polarizing the tourist island province known as China's Hawaii. Yagi more than doubled in strength since killing 16 people in the northern Philippines earlier this week. All it takes is a boat trip around the iconic Guanabara Bay in the state of Rio de Janeiro to spot oil or chemical substances that have been dumped in the waters. Moved by environmental impact, non-governmental groups 350.org and the Association of Men and Women of the Sea of Guanabara Bay, Reddit Ahoma, created an app for local fishermen to record and denounce the pollution. Since it was launched at the end of July, the app called De Oha Na Guanabara or I on Guanabara, 70 users have registered themselves. Data from 350.org shows 27 complaints have been analyzed and made public, while another 126 have been submitted for analysis. Alexandra Anderson de Souza, a fisherman and president of Red Ahoma, said the app had been tested for over 2 years. In addition to fishermen, residents and environmentalists in the region can also share photos and videos of suspected spills of oil or chemical substances that will be shared together with their location with relevant authorities. Giselle Menendez, the water quality manager at Rio de Janeiro Environmental Institute, ENUGU, said that the areas of Guanabara Bay have been showing progressive improvement following the investments in the basic sanitation network. She said the institute was also carrying out its own monitoring and inspection and verifying complaints. Scientists found that sea turtles in the area were getting healthier after struggling for years with a tumor disease that hampers movement, sight, and feeding, and ultimately kills them. Cristiano Ronaldo thanked all his teammates in the national team and his clubs on Thursday for helping him reach 900 goals in his career. Ronaldo scored his 900th career goal in Portugal's home Nations League game against Croatia. Portugal star Ronaldo put his side 2-0 up at Estadio da Luz in the 34th minute when he got on the end of a Nuno Mendes cross with a tap-in volley from cross range before falling to the ground, looking emotional at reaching another milestone. After the game, Ronaldo said he had been working hard to keep the form required to reach the 900 mark. 39-year-old has now netted 131 international goals, 450 for Real Madrid, 145 for Manchester City, 101 for Juventus, and 68 for his current club Al Nassr, as well as 5 for his club Sporting Lisbon. Argentina's Lionel Messi is second in the all-time scorers list, has bagged 859 career goals. Oat Tanak leads Rally Greece after Friday's racing as several title contenders faltered on an eventful day on the gravel. Tanak leads at Hoindia 1-2-3 overnight after early pace setter Sebastian Ogier suffered a turbocharger issue which lost him around 2.5 minutes of time and saw him promoted to fourth. MSOT Ford Adrian Formax was forced to retire due to a broken steering arm, and Elfyn Evans dropped almost 9 minutes with another turbo issue. Daniel Soto sits in second, nearly 22 seconds off the pace, with Thierry Neuville in third, a further 23.4 seconds behind Tanak. Ben Sandilands and Sarah Story bagged respective athletics and road cycling Paralympic gold medals from Team GB on Friday. Sandilands ran to victory in the men's T20 1,500 meters final at Stade de France in a new world record time of 3:45.40. Story, meanwhile, picked up a remarkable 30th Paralympic medal after pipping France's Eddie Gonan to win the women's C4-5 road race. Story won her first Paralympics medal in swimming at the age of 14 at Barcelona 92 and now has 19 gold, 8 silver and 3 bronze to her name. Winning the second bronze of Paris 2024 Paralympics for the refugee team, made Guano Jr. and Tagana feel so moved, the athlete said on Thursday. Competing with his guard, Dona, Indiamua Tagana secured bronze in the T11 men's 100 meters on September 1. Tagana's sight started to deteriorate as a child until he had almost totally lost his vision by the age of 12. 25-year-old competed for his birth country of Cameroon at Tokyo 2020, missing out on a medal. After leaving Cameroon and settling in England, Tagana and Najumjua have been competing with the refugee team, and their win was a scored second after teammate Saki Kudadi won a bronze in Taekwondo. That's the news this hour. I am Barry Kumo Ado, thanking you for watching and wishing you the best of the weekend, of course. Don't forget, next we have New Day.
The role of nurses in our society is to ensure that people live healthy. And we do this through promotion. In promotion, we promote people's way of life, having them engage in physical exercises, having them have good nutrition, safe water, safe environment to promote health. And we also go ahead to talk about the preventive measures, proper hand washing, that will prevent one from transferring disease from one person to another. We go about preventing injuries in the home and where we work. We also talk about rehabilitation, because we have tried to promote, prevent, and eventually we're done with disease or injury. How do we manage such situation? We treat in the hospital, the doctor prescribing, we nurses administering. At the end of the day, if there is need for rehabilitation, we ensure that there is prompt rehabilitation. By so doing, we have covered the first degree, second degree, and third degree of care. First degree of care being preventing that injury from occurring. Second degree of care being prompt treatment, and third degree of care being rehabilitation. Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community need to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have changed behavior. And that change in behavior is evident that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve, that make them remain healthy. And also, in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do Oga, we do swear. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy. What I found most rewarding in being a community health nurse is my interaction with the society, my interaction with the village women. Because we're taking this health to the grassroots. And that is the primary healthcare initiative. And this primary healthcare initiative is about bringing healthcare to where people live and work. And what do? We do health education, telling them what they need to do to remain healthy. We talk about maternal and child health care, she already rightly said. When we talk about pregnant women, take care of them. They go through the antenatal to ensure that at the end of the pregnancy, we have a life baby and a life mother. We talk about environmental sanitation, which is a topic of this year's annual health day. Wellness through personal and environmental hygiene. In that environmental sanitation, we talk about how do you keep your environment clean? How do you take care of your environment so that the environment will be healthy? We talk about clearing the bushes around. We talk about destroying or doing away with empty containers that may likely contain water that mosquito would love to breed there. Then we talk about food and nutrition. How do we make the village women, how do we, the village people, how do we ensure that they have good nutrition? We don't.
A very warm good morning to you and welcome to New Day on Signature Television. Of course, this is your go-to program for in-depth analysis concerning narratives and happenings across Nigeria and beyond. I am Chigi Chiagoram.
And my name is Joshua Oritogu.
Good morning, Josh.
Lovely to
How
have
are you
you.
this morning?
I'm fine, fine.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm in between.
Don't worry, we'll get you over to the other side before the show is over.
Definitely.
So we have very interesting programs lined up for your education, for your information, of course, for your entertainment. We go on a short break, and when we come back, newspaper headlines and review will come your way. Please stay with us. Well, welcome back. If you're still joining us or you're just joining us, this is still Signature Television New Day. And we are going to start off with our newspaper review where we read out and discuss headlines that are making stories around Nigeria and, of course, across the Nigerian dailies. And starting off will be Saturday Vanguard. And right above the mast, you have Edo State 2024. Appeal Court affirms Ighodalo's candidacy. However, before we go into more of this discussion, Joshua?
Yes.
Please read this major headline just below the mast of the Saturday Vanguard before we go on over to Edo State 2024.
Okay, so just below the mast we have why hardship may not end till 2027, says economy expert, with the rider suffering to even continue beyond that unless say economic recovery dependent on key factors, recommend what government must do for a turnaround.
Still on Saturday Vanguard, on PDP crisis, governors Wike draw battle line over Fubara. That will be found on page 13.
And on health, we have breakthrough test detect prostate cancer in 15 minutes from dried blood.
Pretty interesting.
That's really good. It's really good.
And on education, federal government has not effected new age policy, says minister on page 30.
And coming from the president, we have, I will take hard decisions to move Nigeria forward.
Okay. We're hopeful.
We're already
We're hopeful.
Okay.
On petrol shortage, consumers to pay more for petrol, found on page 27 with a rider. NNPC independents sell at 895 naira, 1,000 naira per litre. Massive importation to continue.
And finally, we have why I broke down in tears, says Chidima. You can find this on the page 27.
All right, moving over to Independent right above the mast. Nigerians are hungry. Reduced fuel price. Kuka tells Tinubu-led APC government. Found on page 7 of the Saturday Independent.
And just below the mast, we have age requirement for varsity admissions may spike cases of falsification. JAM registrars. Rider houses that is obnoxious, backward, says stakeholders. Policy in order, tertiary education not for children, says Kashim.
All right. Why our policies appear hard but necessary to birth genuine reform, says President Tinubu.
Federal government begins sales of 50 kg rice at 40,000 naira. Please, I would like to know the location of this. Yes, location is very important.
All right, still on Fuel Fury on Saturday Independent. Outrage grows as petrol price skyrockets, crashing economy. Will hit the streets, says rider, if there's no reversal on hardship policies. Coming from NANS, increased availability of petroleum products would foster competition and drive down prices soon. Coming from Dopobori.
Nigerians are hungry. Reduce fuel price. Kuka tell Tinubu-led APC government.
And finally, on Saturday Independent, IGP's 4-year appointment, not recent development. Coming from FPRO, that's Police Force PRO, with rider says it is in line with extant legal provisions.
And moving over to the Saturday Punch, just below the mast, we have certificate verification. Nigerian nurses in UK, US forced back home.
Still on Saturday Point and boldly written, petrol crisis again. Trucks stranded as depot at depot as NNPCL, Dangote, Tango, overpricing with a rider. Market forces will create crisis. OPC wants NNPCL.
Tinubu must drop petroleum minister portfolio, says Agbakuba.
All right. Nigerian flag designer Taiwo Akinwumi buried after 1-year wait for federal government. Sad.
Very sad. From allies to adversaries, 400 farmers displays as Oyo-Osun boundary dispute turns deadly.
And finally, on a Saturday Punch, Ogun begins manhunt for kidnappers at 66-year-old nurse. Kidnappers of 66-year-old nurse.
And moving over to The Guardian, just below the mast, we have Debt, inflation, climate change affecting development funding in Nigeria and Africa at large.
Okay, two interesting stories right above the mast, or below, just below the mast of the Guardian. Debt, inflation, climate change affecting development funding in Nigeria and Africa, and workbooks in textbooks for money making or improved learning.
After $30 billion on TAM, what's the future of NNPC refineries?
Right. Finally, on the Guardian, 5 tactical errors Tinubu must clear. Inside stuff.
And moving over to The Nation, just above the mast, we have EFCC recovers 53 vehicles, $180,300 for Canadian victims. A rider has it as arrest 44 suspected internet fraudsters.
On page 5 of The Nation, we didn't stop under 18 from writing WSE, you ask, says Minister. Interesting.
Oh, good.
Seems as though he's speaking from both sides of his mouth.
Honest,
but we'll get to the review
We'll
shortly.
get to it. And just below the mast, we have Tinubu. We are taking hard decisions to elevate Nigeria. Nigeria is going through reforms, and we are taking very bold and unprecedented decisions. For example, you might have been hearing from home in the last few days about fuel price. But can we help it? Wait, you must have...
Is this like a rhetorical question? Or
I'm trying to... He said, for example, you might have been hearing from home in the last few days.
Where's home?
Okay, he's talking to people in China.
Okay.
Yes, he's talking to people in China. Yes,
Okay.
you know he was in China a few days.
Calm down. We'll get to the review.
Yeah.
But, moving on. Still on The Nation, same-sex marriage controversy tears century-old Taraba church apart. Wow.
I don't think same-sex should have been a problem in the north, but this is amazing.
Taraba, the north, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Abiola Adebayo is saying, why I underwent dental surgery.
And finally, on The Nation, Saturday Nation is Nel Fund disburses student loan to 40 additional institutions.
And moving over to this day, just below the mast, we have petrol price hike raises cost of living for businesses and families. Rider has it as Nigerians are hungry. Kuka, AYC tell presidents, APC. Oni of Ife appeals for calm.
All right, just above this day, I beg your pardon, masks. Analysts advise federal government to expend banks' windfall tax on real sector, support vulnerable persons. With a rider, demand transparency in utilization.
Transparency should be even required in everything. Now, WAEC, NECO, federal government makes U-turn on candidates' age limits. The other newspaper headline was like, we never said so. Now, this is saying we are making a U-turn. Amazing to see.
Boldly written in front of this day, petrol price hike raises cost of living for businesses and families, with riders saying Nigerians are hungry. Kuka, AYC, tell presidency, APC, while Oni of Ife appeals for calm.
And moving over to the Nigerian Tribune, just below the mast, we can see clearly written is Kuka to Tinubu on page 3. Reverse petrol price, Nigerians are suffering. Tells politicians to stop using marabouts to rule Nigeria.
And interesting stories just above the Saturday Tribune mast. Northern elders ask federal government not to negotiate with bandits. That will be found on page 6. And still on page 6, Olubadan elevates 5 more chiefs. Olubadan should be the chief also in Oyo State, yeah?
Yes.
Olubadan, okay.
Well, northern leaders asking federal government not to negotiate with terrorists. We should be just like the US too. Nigeria doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Yes. No decision yet on 18 years limit for varsity admission, says federal government. Says WAEC, NECO exams won't be affected by policy. They are saying too many things.
All at the same time. Okay,
you can find this on page 4, honestly.
All right, we'll close with Saturday. I beg your pardon, we end Saturday Tribune review headlines with these 2 stories. Court remands man for stealing beans in Ibadan. And commuters groan as transporters' fare goes up.
And finally, on the newspaper headline, we have the Weekend Trust. Just below the mass, we have our deal with federal government on petrol price label. Amazing to see that this is the first time they are appearing on the newspaper headline today. The writer has it as says, anyone insisting on a hike is cruel. NLC paying to gallery, says presidency. Price remains uncertain.
Interesting. And still on Weekend Trust. Dangote Wike wine or Shomonle Dada in the news. You can find that on page 13 of the Weekend Trust.
And finally, we have the many controversies of women affairs ministers. That's on page 26. Honestly, this woman has a lot of controversies.
Yeah, the news
I
for
don't
all
know.
The wrong reasons, right?
And lastly, page 8, you can find how renewed Boko Haram attacks killed 122 in Yobe, Borno. And this is the much we can take on the newspaper headline. We'll be back shortly with the newspaper review.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community need to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have change behavior. And that change in behavior is evidence that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do Oga, we do swell. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy.
Okay, welcome back. Still Signature TV, New Day, newspaper review. And of course, we have in the studio Chris, the one and only Chris, to help us dissect some of these issues that will be making the headlines. Chris, good morning.
Yes, Chigi.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me here.
Good morning, Chris.
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
It's my pleasure to always be here.
Great.
This
great.
is another day.
Another new day.
On Signature TV.
See, the thing about New Day is you have like 24 hours reset to do things better, more opportunities to, get ahead.
Okay, so let's move ahead because of time. federal government, sorry, let's leave fuel. Let's leave fuel for now.
No.
We'll be discussing fuel.
That's the main thing on the front burner.
You want people to tune off?
No,
that's the main thing on the front burner.
Kuka to Tinubu, reverse petrol price, Nigerians are suffering.
If you're not talking about that, what else
are you talking about?
Okay, so let's...
There are a lot of people have told the federal government to stop, to reverse. It's not just Kuka. But just when Kuka speaks, you know that the thing has gotten to a point where he is like, if I don't speak now, when else can I speak? And there's what interests me. Stop using marabout to rule Nigeria. Others are using... so what's the role of these special assistants? Do we have SAs on marabouting? Or the SA, the marabouts now special assistants? Or the advisors? Are they advising on economics? Are they advising on security? Are they advising on health and governance? What should marabout be doing? It's just the same issue of, somebody clearly trying to bring religion where it does not count. And then why should, it's an insult. And for it to come from Kuka, if it's come from another person, we would have regarded it as, swipe on the federal government. For Kuka to say that, we have had it as rumor, but for Kuka to say and advise the federal government, probably is being sarcastic. But what it means is that we have a lot of professors of economics in Nigeria. We have a lot of professors of security issues. We have our experts in Nigeria. Nigeria is blessed by a high level of human resources. And God has so much blessed Nigeria.
I agree.
And to hear that, one thing is, we just advise the federal government to heed the advice of Kuka. There's no need to go more than that. Reverse this world thing.
Okay, but
whether you are using Marabout or using Marago.
Chris, Shetima called for a meeting at the Aso Villa quite recently where he summoned the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, the security guy, ENUGU Ribadu, and NNPCL guy. And by the end of the meeting, the minister was heard as saying that fuel prices, the government doesn't fix fuel prices. However, people are calling on the same government to, reverse fuel hike. Which is it really?
Well, what is the role of NNPC in all this? And who owns NNPC? If NNPCL, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, if it is not owned by federal government, if the shares has been sold and allow Nigerians to buy share, and they have board meetings where they sit down to discuss price of their product, and the fixed price of even product they did not produce, because they only drill crude oil, but they still fix the price. And then they sell it to the foreign companies who refine, they buy and sell and determine on the price. What they are saying is, whether you fix the price or directly or indirectly, the government have a hand. The president of Nigeria is the minister of oil. And somebody said minister of petroleum. So we have gone so narrow that in 2024 you have minister of petroleum, which powers energy. It's not. In other countries they say minister of energy. So many energies power our life. We have the clean energy, the solar, we have even the electricity should be under Ministry of Energy. And it's a very big in this era. So for some people, though, somebody also called, Abakoba called in today's headlines that the president should drop the position of being Minister of Oil.
Yes, we read that.
If all these calls and these suggestions will solve the problem of oil and gas in Nigeria and in general energy, I think I go with them.
That's
because there is so much to carry for one man. It's a real big issue as president of Nigeria. And another big issue with the sector that is as far as they've mistakenly, Obasanjo said, we mistakenly gave overrated oil and gas sector and make it the lifeline of Nigeria. That is total error, he accepted. And if he had known when he had the opportunity, he wouldn't do that. Although he tried his best to also bring in agriculture, even practicalize it by his own Obasanjo farms and what he did with that. But we found out that in 2024 that giving so much emphasis on oil is also overrating what does not work. So, President, consider dropping that position, give it to somebody so that we can challenge the person to work. If it doesn't work, then the person, you have a choice of saying, you have not brought nothing on board. So you step aside, let another person try. But where? It's difficult to look at the face of president and say the Ministry of Petroleum is not doing well. Because it's as well as saying, looking at the president, much respected President, and said, President Bola Tinubu, you are not doing well. Of course, it's not that it's out of place. In democracy, you can look at your president and find a diplomatic and respectful way of saying, you have not done well in this sector. We appeal that you review your decisions on this. And when they say, also review that decision of carrying the load of being the Minister of Petroleum, and then see whether it can settle this problem. The problems are many, and we keep shouting. I don't know how long Nigerians can manage with this. And only God can. And this God, and somebody I keep saying, I contradict myself when I told people that God, Nigeria is not only the nation Nigeria God created. So all this idea of calling on God when we deliberately put ourselves in this gulag, we locked ourselves up, and Nigerians, we have told ourselves lies for too many, and we're calling upon God. Probably this may be punishment from God. For some of you that are religious.
All right, we'll keep that for another discussion. Well, let's go to Weekend Trust, boldly written in front of the Weekend Trust. Our deal with the federal government on petrol price, says Labour, with riders saying, says anyone insisting on a hike is cruel. And President retorts and says, NLC playing to the gallery, and finally price remains uncertain. You know, Chris, Labour come out to say that the government, federal government, deceived them, that the deal, part of the deal on the table for them to accept the 70,000 naira minimum wage was that there won't be any further hike in fuel prices. And they accepted the 70,000 minimum wage, and voila, there's an increase, there's a hike in fuel price. What do you have to say about this?
I believe Labour. And let's tell you, this is a global TV. I believe Labour more than I believe whatever is coming from the presidency on this issue. The Labour, we are speaking for the labor force of Nigeria, which includes me and you. And when they are going for negotiation on this deal, there's no how. Even if everybody put it on them, I will still swear with my life that for them to accept 70,000 naira from 250,000 they proposed to come down, there must be a horse-traded deal. And the federal government or people working there, because everything now is a federal government, people, whoever...
But it wasn't written on paper though. You know, we know...
But verbal agreements too should be...
Which one?
Knowing the government, the Nigerian government, right?
No, see,
if promises are made,
coming back to this.
It should be put on paper.
Now, which one did they put on paper? Take out the ones they put on paper, implement it. Let's do the one you didn't put on paper. All of us are reviewing newspaper headline in Nigeria today. And when we leave here, you say we didn't put what on paper. Is deceitful. And it shows that you are not a person to be trusted. And the federal government of Nigeria and all the people working for the federal government of Nigeria have shown that when they cannot hold on agreements, if we begin to write everything down and believe on it, then the federal government would have run out. They would implement the whole thing in Nigerian constitution. It's written down. So you don't do selective implementation. And when this one we didn't put it on paper. So I'm sure that's what you are, but that's not the side of the federal. What you said, NLC had their word. If you know, when you put two things, you need to choose. I have decided to go with NLC on this matter. Federal government has no reason why they allow fuel price to get to 1,200 naira as at this morning in ENUGU. In all the local filling stations, and in NNPC filling station is 900 naira. And in other ones that were close to and sophisticated, they are selling 970,000 and 970 naira. So whichever, did you look at the NLC and tell them, we will, and we didn't put it on paper, we may? I'm sure, and the level I trust, wouldn't have accepted it if we had mooted that idea at all. So there's no need for us to come and say,
Chris.
the federal the presidency come and say, they say, we go with Labour on this, and anybody can decide who we go for.
Okay, so because of time, we have to go in a short while. Age requirement for varsity admissions may spike causes of falsification rather, JAM registrar, of course. But then we've been seeing the back and forth in all the newspaper headlines, one coming out to say, oh, we never said anything, one saying we're going back on the policy, and there have been so much of
back and forth.
Back and forth.
And I would say Nigerian establishment, even WAEC, did not think through policy in 2024, and it came to the open to declare. Everybody, in the sense of all things pure and holy, has condemned that process.
Absolutely.
Even, the fact is they're bantering and talking about is distraction. We have more issues to follow. And if WAEC cannot come, let them WAEC remove Nigeria out of their name. Nigeria must not belong to WAEC. It's West Africa. We have had nations who have removed themselves from ECOWAS, and they ran their own issue. We have Brexit. People are living all these unusual nonsense associations that will cage their life and determine how they sleep and wake up. If Nigerian children want to go to university at the age of 12, set the standard. If they pass, they go.
We have NECO, so
and
why
then,
is NECO?
With all the economic and the way the world is moving fast, the world we're laughing at us that we sit down and we're talking about.
Chris.
They're not chewing, they're eating their words.
Yeah, they are.
Because once they muted on this desk, we
said about
it. At first they said, that gifted kids will be allowed to. And I said, what is your definition of gifted
kids? Look at those ones who are the one making decisions. They are the ones who have the most ungifted children. Right. But if they had allowed that, they will come back and select their children.
Chris, if we had more time.
Yes,
Chris is always passionate about this, and we love you for that.
Passion for Nigeria.
So thank you very much.
And we have that passion any day.
Okay, that's so right. Thank you very much, Chris, for coming into the studio with us this morning again.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving over now, we want to go to retrospect. Of course, we had a lot of things lined up for the week from Monday down to Tuesday, down to the week, which was just yesterday, Friday. We've been giving you back to back of amazing packages, and we're going to be giving you highlights of those programs. On Monday, we had primary health care, and we had Dr. Judith Illo coming up to have this discussion with us. Please do take a listen.
The role of nurses in our society is to ensure that people live healthy. And we do this through promotion. In promotion, we promote people's way of life. Having them engage in physical exercises, having them have good nutrition, safe water, safe environment to promote health. And we also go ahead to talk about the preventive measures. Proper hand washing that will prevent one from transferring disease from one person to another. We go about preventing injuries in the home and where we work. We also talk about rehabilitation because we have tried to promote, prevent, and eventually we're done with disease or injury. How do we manage such situation? We treat in the hospital, the doctor prescribing, we nurses administering. At the end of the day, if there is need for rehabilitation, we ensure that there is prompt rehabilitation. By so doing, we have covered the first degree, second degree, and third degree of care. First degree of care being preventing that injury from occurring. Second degree of care being prompt treatment, and third degree of care being rehabilitation. Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it, and have changed behavior. And that change in behavior is evident that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do Oga, we do swear. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy. What I found most rewarding in being a community health nurse is my interaction with the society, my interaction with the village women. Because we're taking this health to the grassroots, and that is the primary health care initiative. And this primary health care initiative is about bringing health care to where people live and work. And what do? We do health education, telling them what they need to do to remain healthy. We talk about maternal and child health care, as she already rightly said, where we talk about pregnant women, take care of them, they go through the antenatal to ensure that at the end of the pregnancy, we have a live baby and a live mother. We talk about environmental sanitation, which is a topic of this year's annual health day, wellness through personal and environmental hygiene. In that environmental sanitation, we talk about how do you keep your environment clean? How do you take care of your environment so that the environment will be healthy? We talk about clearing the bushes around. We talk about destroying or doing away with empty containers that may likely contain water that mosquito would love to breed there. Then we talk about food and nutrition. How do we make the village women, how do we, the village people, how do we ensure that they have good nutrition? We don't want to talking about burger, talking about fried rice. We know how local food that they need to eat to be healthy. Then we talk about essential drugs. There are some drugs that are in essential drug list. That is essential. When you talk about essential, it means a drug that is mostly needed.
Can you reel out some?
We talk about anti-malaria because our area is we have malaria in our society. We talk about worm expellers. We talk about painkillers. We talk about antipyretic. We talk about small antibiotics. Antibiotics that will help them to remain healthy.
And that was Dr. Judith Ilo discussing the role of the nurses in primary healthcare, including how their roles have actually evolved over the years. She also touched on how to break the cycle of infection and ensure the health of the people. Moving over to
how to wash
and how to wash proper hand washing.
Please go back and watch that video so that you understand.
Proper hand washing is part of how to break a cycle of infection, because before it transmits from one hand to another hand, you must have washed your hands. And there's a method to washing your hands. So you need to go back and learn exactly how you get to wash your hand properly to break cycles of infection. So that flu, you don't get to go through that flu the next time it's around the corner, right? So moving over to Tuesday, we had Mazi Ihai Igboko come into the studio and discuss conservation of culture. You do want to take a listen.
If you look around the world today, you discover that there are new cultures, trying to gain the attention of people across the world. Look around you, there are the Spanish telenovelas. You look around you, there's the scenes coming from Hollywood, Bollywood. Even across Nigeria, you see a lot of movies being churned out from different cultures. And then it begs the question, who are you? What's your identity? How do you self-preserve, and how do you promote and document your culture? And that's where the organization I work for, the Center for Memories, comes in, because we are a repository of the history, the culture, the identity and the excellence of the Igbo people in the Igbo. So, yeah, well, what we try to do is to, document and tell the story of everything that concerns the Igbo people.
So what is the importance of the culture conservation?
The Igbos would say, Ndi Igbo nekuna mama isinono aponama. So today we see a lot of imported cultures, and within our cosmology, within our worldview, those things are not in existence. I'm not saying we cannot, learn from other people and progressives, but it's not everything out there that should be learned. When you look at it, you evaluate it through the spectrum of your worldview, cosmology. If it aligns, fine, because the Igbos have one of their major characteristics, Njepo. Njepo is sojourn. Across the world, there's this funny thing they always say: if you want to know a very habitable location across the world, there are three things you need to find: at the Catholic Church, Coca-Cola, and then the Igbo person. So anywhere you do not see these three identifiers, then that place is not habitable. But the Igbo, I don't know if you see the trend on social media now. So people identify you with their Igbo heritage. I've seen Igbo Taiwanese, Igbo Pakistanese, right? So Njepo means when you sojourn, you carry your whole essence, everything you have. That's where we go there. We find Ndi Igbo in America Association. Then as Ndi Igbo in America. So this is our attributes. And then when we are coming back, we bring all of the good we find in that location and bring it. That way, we are maintaining that balance, because one of the principal Igbo characteristics is balance. That is why we have this dual complementarity. Ifekolo, Ifakudebeya, Inwe Nwoke, Inwe Nwanyị, Inwe Elu, Inwe Ala, Inwe Nigeria, Inwe America. So with that balance, the world is not tilted to one corner. Okay,
I would like to ask you another question about what the Center for Memories of ENUGU State, your ENUGU State chapter, what it does, or they contribute to the preservation of Nigerian culture. But before that, I've had Igbo diaspora, Igbos in diaspora in different countries. You have Canada, Igbos in diaspora. We have different countries actually. So how is this cultural preservation going on in these countries?
So the thing is this.
Igbos really coming out to identify, like you said.
Yeah. So the thing is this. The center is an institution that was established by Ndibo, right? And the choice of Enugu State is simply because of what Enugu means to Ndibo. Over the years, Enugu has been the capital of the Southern Province around 1912. Enugu has been the capital of the Old Eastern Region. Enugu has been the capital of the French Republic of Biafra. Enugu has been the capital of the Old Anambra State, East Central State first. Enugu has been the capital of Old Anambra State. Enugu has been the capital of Old Enugu State, and Enugu still remains. So in our sojourn, in our journey, you will see the place of Enugu. We've had other proposals to establish the center elsewhere. We do not want to do that because we want to centralize the story of Ndi Igbo around Enugu. That's why. Then there's also a certain way we tell these stories. We compartmentalize Ndi Igbo in diaspora, Ndi Igbo in Nigeria, Ndi Igbo in Alibo.
Okay.
One of the things he said in that interview is that that I listened to, because of course you have to listen to those interviews, they're very good, was that it's not everything out there that you have to learn. I mean, he spoke so much about having to preserve our own culture. I mean, you watch in a Bollywood movie and you expect them to showcase their culture.
Bollywood, they are going to sing,
they're going to dance, scene and all of that,
and things like that.
You watch American movies, which is the Hollywood, you know there's going to be action.
So there will be guns
exactly.
and car chases.
And then even down to Nigeria, you watch a Yoruba movie and then you expect to see them carry their whole culture. I mean, I don't want to start calling them so that it doesn't look like I'm doing free advert for them. I'm not doing free advert. But then again, it's necessary and good that we preserve our culture.
Identity is key.
Yes.
You have to be known for something.
You definitely do have to.
Everything, we just go and we just get hook, line, and sinker. We swallow it from the Western, we
Please.
have to,
So you can, of course, watch that interview
intact.
again. You can watch it. It's on our YouTube channel. Please go there, like, share, subscribe, and drop your own comment. Moving over to Wednesday, we discussed federal government charged 10 protesters for treason. I mean, it's a serious offense, so we needed to understand what it meant. So Barrister Nwabweze Ugu was in the studio with us. Do take a listen. Of course, we've discussed that already. So let's go to the pressing issue at hand. We've seen the federal government come out to give 10 of these guys the charge of treason. But just so we understand the gravity of what that word means, can you, from your own expert opinion, give us the definition of what treason is?
Treason is an offense that was established first and foremost. It is important to let us know that the Constitution, which is the ground norm, that is the highest law in this country, it is the lawgiver. Anything anybody is doing in Nigeria does not have foundation in the Constitution, is a nullity. Now that Constitution said in section 36, I think it's subsection 10 or 12, that for any act to be an offense, to be punished by any court of law, that act must be contained in a written law, which written law must also state the penalty for that offense. This country has a criminal code act, which has been here from the early 20th century. That's early 19-something. Now the criminal code defines and establishes the offense of treason. And it says that treason is anybody that does anything that is aimed at, I want to define it in obese boy English, in a layman's language. Anybody that does anything that is geared towards changing the government of the people. That is the government of the country. That means you want to do something that will affect the lives of Nigerians. That's the implication in it. Now, that means also that you are doing an act that will affect Nigerians gravely and probably bring to the death of a lot of Nigerians. That's what the government, our British colonial masters that brought this Criminal Code Act, that's what they looked at. They also have it in their country, and most countries have the offense of treason. But some countries, many countries, have long abolished the penalty of a death penalty, death sentence. So that the treason exists in almost every country. But then, you see, the existence of a law is totally different from the implementation of the law. Now, I've said that treason is anything done by anybody, either by word of mouth or by action, which is aimed at violently changing the government of the country. So anything done to change the government of the country, not within the bounds of the law.
So even by what I say, I can be implicated?
Yes. By word of mouth or by action, a man can commit treason. The moment it is aimed at changing the government of the country outside the purview of law, outside the provisions of the law, that is the way the law said the government of the country should be changed. If you look at the Constitution, it is awash with provisions stating how the government of the country can be changed by election after every 4 years, which is what brought Tinubu into governance. Anything you do outside the provisions of the law aimed at changing the government of the country, whether you succeed or not,
that was Barrister Nwabeze Ugu explaining exactly what it means to have someone accused of treason, the nitty-gritty of what it means to commit a treasonable offense. And I heard him clearly, Joshua, when he explained and said, whatever it is must be outside of the purview of the law. And we know that protests, are right within, the
constitutional rights
of the law. So I'm just thinking in my head, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm thinking, and I'm hopeful that whoever, the team of lawyers, that are, overseeing, handling the cases of these protesters, will be able to, argue beyond every reasonable doubt that these guys were operating within the ambit of the law,
I came out to protest that I am hungry.
It is their civil right, actually, to protest, and they were being charged of treason. All right, moving ahead, on Thursday, we had Barrister Fabian ENUGU speak to us about Labour demands reversal of pump price. It's not just Labour, there are other pressure groups that are demanding the same reversal. So you may want to stick around and hear what he had to say.
Labour demands reversal of pump price. You wouldn't want to miss this particular discussion. And we have right in the studio Comrade Barrister Fabian ENUGU. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. And you?
I'm okay.
You can see it. Belinda.
How is the pump price? Is it affecting your side while you came here?
I think you know the answer as well.
No, but we'd like to hear from you.
Because I know you don't live in this studio.
No, we don't.
It's not funny. Honestly, it's not funny. Nigerians, they wouldn't pray to have a government like the present government. Nobody. In fact, we wouldn't pray for our enemies to have this kind of government. Not to talk of any rational person to enjoy or to go through the hurdles Nigerians are going through today. You wake up every morning, you are ambushed. Since 29th of May 2023, this country have not had peace. An average Nigerian has been in one problem or the other, occasioned by the policies of the present government. So it's not funny, it's not funny. You call anybody to say, Ross, good morning, he's telling you, now I bought fuel 1,200. They'll say, where are you? I can't come out, so there's no fuel in my car. I was talking to somebody this morning, say, who would take my car for what? You will take the car, know what to say, do what with my car? There's no fuel in the car, and I'm sure the person that wants to say cannot fuel the car. So it's a very bad one.
We usually have a guest who likes to say that there is no longer middle class in Nigeria. We only have the low class and the rich.
It's not even the low class. Those are the basement and then the rich. We talk about low, you be glorified.
Low still has it.
So those are the basement, downtrodden, and then the topmost. Those are the.
How do you think these people would survive having to see the increment in fuel? Because fuel affects everything, obviously. So how do you think people like that, the basement, will survive?
That's what I'm saying. And unfortunately, over 70% of Nigerians are within that region. Over 70% of Nigerians are within that region. So that's why I say that the country seems to be on fire. People are suffering. People are suffering. If you tell the quantum of cost that is already for assistance, you don't even know that the person they are calling for assistance
needs assistance too.
So it's so pathetic. It's so pathetic.
But has the government responded to the NLC's request to drop down the fuel price?
It's not even the issue of. Presently, I'm not aware of anyone.
Okay.
But this present government responding to anything is as good as not responding, because they will not do it. Since 2023 October, we had a lot of agreements with them. None has been implemented. So even if they are telling us you want to do it, you don't even need to tell us you want. So you start doing it. If you think Nigerians are suffering, if you think you have seen that, no, this is a very poor decision we have taken, you quickly go back. You don't need to wait and tell us, I will. The worst with this country today is that someone is sick, you're in the hospital, there are no doctors, no nurses, nobody. You're just watching the time taken for you to go. Nothing's happening. We can't say maybe the price have risen today as a result of this. By tomorrow, it will be this. No such calculations. Nothing on grounds. We just wake up after taking their coffee. They wake up and say, well, "Are they still alive?"
Let's do something to this. I mean, if you're in Nigeria and you're in Nigeria, this fuel is touching everybody.
Absolutely.
Both the, okay, there's no more low class,
Middle-
both the basement,
middle and the low
the
class
basement and the
wiped out.
rich. Just basement and the rich, whoever you are passing through this and you're experiencing this hurdle, this pain. That was Barrister Fabian. You know, he's the chairperson of the NLC here in ENUGU, and he really gave a lot of insight on what is happening currently. Well, moving over to Friday, another interesting and finally, of course, interesting topic. I mean, the ABGA issue. We've been seeing ABGA all over the news. What's going on? ABGA versus Chekwas Okori. The leadership and Chekwas Okori. We wanted to know, and we wanted to give you guys what you should know about that. That's, you know, back and forth between the ABGA community, or the ABGA party rather. So we had Chekwas Okori come into the studio to discuss this. Do take a listen.
Well, the situation is that in spite of all tumbling blocks on the part of justice, the national chairman of ABGA, as we speak, is Chief Edozie Njoku, who won the leadership struggle at the Supreme Court on the 24th of March, 2023. And the Independent National Electoral Commission did not immediately recognize him, or in other words, comply with that judgment. And the reason was that, well, the reason I can decipher is that Professor Soludo, our only governor, sponsored his people to continue the propaganda that even the judgment of the Supreme Court was not explicit that Chief Njoku was chairman, national chairman of the party. It was not true. So that compelled two members of the National Working Committee of the party to approach the Federal High Court, because there is a constitutional provision that the judgment of the Supreme Court can be enforced by any court of record below. With that, they went to the FCT High Court in Abuja, at Buhari in Abuja, yes. And the court ruled, gave a judgment, a clear judgment, that the chairman of the party was Chief Edozie Njoku. They were still not satisfied with that. They went to the Court of Appeal, and they formulated 10 grounds of appeal to be able to get the appeal court to set aside the enforcement judgment of the court at Buhari in FCT. And the Court of Appeal resolved all the 10 grounds in favor of ABGA, in favor of the respondents, because they became appellant, and they were using the name of Victor Oye for all of this trouble. So Victor Oye was the appellant in the matter. And the Court of Appeal dismissed the appeal in a concurrent judgment of 3 justices of the court. And INEC felt that they had reached the end of the road in indulging Professor Soludo and his people, if you like, his faction, and complied with the judgment of the Supreme Court and recognized Chief Edozie Njoku. And that was reflected on the INEC portal. Everybody thought we had come to the end of all of this, because there must be an end to litigation. Whatever that is left will be maybe for him to go back to the Supreme Court and attempt to get the Supreme Court to reverse itself. So between June 28, 2024, this year that appeal court judgment was given. We didn't hear anything from them in court except Professor Tolujo boasting to everybody that cared to listen that there is no way that Chief Joseph Njoku will be chairman of the party, national chairman. And he preferred his special assistant called Sly Ezomuka, whom he purported to have sponsored to go to a convention that was nullified by the court as illegal convention.
A very passionate Chief Chekwas Okore talking and discussing some of the trials and triumphs of the APGA party. You may want to go back and listen to that interview. And that's the much we can take for our Saturday retrospect. We have, like I told you earlier in the beginning of the show, a lot of things lined up for your education and your information. First up will be the slump and die syndrome. What is it really? What's the cause and how can you prevent it? What are the risk factors? These are some of the things we are going to be discussing here on New Day. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Whether it was in 2004 when veteran actress Stella Damasus lost her husband, Jaya Boderin, who slumped and passed away, or recently in 2004 when veteran journalist, songwriter, singer Onyeka Onwenu slumped and passed away, the rising cases of slump and die syndrome has become a thing of great concern. And we're going to be discussing this, why some seemingly healthy individuals will just suddenly collapse, fall down, and pass away tragically. And we have someone, he is not a new face or a new day. He's someone that we always enjoy his insight into some of the health concerns. He is Dr. Ugunwa Chinedu Nwachukwu. He is a consultant community health physician with UNTH Ituku Ozala. Doctor, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, moderators and listener, viewers. We are here once again to talk about an health issue that will sincerely trip your fancy.
Absolutely. I mean, seeing you on your clinical attire,
you came prepared.
You came with your scrub, if I'm not correct, and your lab coat. I'm excited myself.
Don't worry, we're just jumping from office to the studio, and then want to deliver the thing and go back to our clinical work. We're from the field, and we still want to do that. It will just do us a good thing that will be on watch out. Slump and die, as you just said, may not be an issue that will play with the kiddies good enough, because it has been there all. Remember Okwaraji, remember Kanuankwo, you remember was Chris Edison, Kanuankwo and Christine Ellison. They didn't die, but they slumped.
Seems like you're a sports. Before we go down that route.
No, but you know, it's profound more on those activities.
Yes.
You see them more there. That's where we're...
Okay, now you are talking about it. You know, the guy I mentioned when I was introducing the show, the segment, Jaya Boderin, he actually died coming from a sports event. I think it was table tennis or lawn tennis, and afterwards he just slumped and died. Onyeka Onwenu died after an active performance, you know, at a birthday party, and she slumped and died. So, are you trying to tell us that increase in physical activity can predispose someone to slumping and dying? But before you say that, before you get to that, hold on. Before you get to that, what exactly is slump and die syndrome? It seems as if this is something we coined from local parlance, kind of. You know, so what exactly is slump and die Yeah, so let's understand what we're going into.
It's just like if you want to do it in that local balance, you are free and clear, because what it means is just that slump and die. But ordinarily in clinical terms and in medical world, we are not viewing a slump and die with a light microscope, because it is not a diagnosis to say. It is an umbrella, general umbrella we use to describe, it's a term we use to describe sudden, uneventful deaths that occurs within 1 hour of maybe witnessing the symptom, and then within 24 hours for unwitnessed events. A lot of slump and die, those slump, you know, you are being in activity and slump and die. But this syndrome had happened more often when people are sleeping. You say they passed away. This is equally part of slump and die. So generally it is disease or deaths that occur from natural causes within 1 hour of witnessed symptom. The person will not say that I'm just having it within 1 hour the person died, or within 24 hours of somebody who apparently have no symptoms at all and have no disease whatsoever, and all of a sudden the person is gone. And oftentimes the diagnosis is not placed on, you don't know what causes it until after autopsy must have been done to give you an insight of what probably would have caused this incident. So it's a dear moment, and it's something that
let's talk about the second part of my question.
I'm very concerned because the fact that you said 1 hour, the symptom shows from 1 hour, and then there is an So why 1 hour for people who have the symptoms, and what are those symptoms I should look for? Because she already asked, is it because I'm active? You know, all these people were active.
Is there a direct relationship between your physical activity and slump and die?
Yes. Yes.
So I should not exercise again.
No, don't get me wrong. Okay, what I'm trying to say, most times, if you look at the slump and die, the symptoms we are talking, about half of it, 50% of slump and die may not come with symptoms. You will not see it. But then sometimes some of the symptoms may come and people may mistake it for some other thing. You may just wave it off. Just like in normal days, if you have a bitter taste, you blame it on malaria. If you have a headache, you blame it on malaria.
And typhoid.
Okay. Those people are waiting. One day will be waiting for us on road to heaven. For some of us who go to heaven. For those who if you wait and say, giving you enough, you give me a false accusation, because a lot of us has falsely accused malaria and typhoid. So what I'm trying to say is just like something like a brain aneurysm, which is one of the foremost cause of slump and die, may come with a headache, a severe headache. You think that you'll busy be taking malaria drugs and taking all paracetamol and feel that you're having that. Then again, there's this and it's from natural causes. It's not unnatural cause like bullets hitting the person or some other thing, but just like natural. People said the person slept in his
passed away.
Exactly.
Okay, but doctor, let's try and follow this systematically, because I can sense you have a lot to pour out. However, we don't have that kind of capacity to assimilate everything. So we're going to take it systematically. I want you to just mention to us some of the ailments that can constitute or come under, because you said it's an umbrella word. What are some of the ailments that can come under that slump and die syndrome, right? So when we're done with that, then we now talk about the signs that you can see, because
you to allow him answer this
one. Hold on. I'm afraid. If you're not afraid, I'm afraid. I need to talk about this, because from what you just mentioned, it's as though someone might think, oh, there's no hope. Probably don't go to the gym, because if you overexert yourself, you could fall and die, and then you could sleep and not wake up. So let's categorize those ailments that actually come under that umbrella of slump and die.
The key things, if I must put them in system, the key systems that are very important or play roles in this slump and die has been the heart and the lungs. They are very important. Anything that makes the heart not to beat or beat abnormally, it's going to, stop the heart appropriately will cause to that, will lead to slump and die. Anything that will make you not to be breathed well, because the heart itself try to get somebody up to this blood system. There's electrical stimuli that gets on, and then it gets the heart to be beating. Anything that alters this stream of electrical action can lead to death. Then in that of lungs, it supplies the air, the oxygen that the body, anything that stops that oxygen to get on to the brain, that person will faint or die. Now, let me now get to the diseases, if you want to. There are other ones that can, but let me just pick it up. I say that about 50% of the slump and die cases as a result of cardiac, that's heart origin. So part of the things that there's coronary artery diseases. Coronary artery is the artery that supplies blood to the heart. If there's a problem with that supply to their heart, it will cause problem. And this will lead to the heart suddenly stopping and then dying. And then once it stopped or died, what we call in our parlance as sudden cardiac arrest. Then you say cardiac arrest, people have a heart attack. So this can. So if there is a coronary artery disease or whatever, there are also what we call sudden arrhythmic disease. That's making the heart not to, it's rhythm as it's beating. That one is fast. So, sometimes the rhythm, the hearts have lob-dub, 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 lob-dub. So, but if there's something that makes it not to call, maybe lob-dub, lob, either delaying it or making it lob, 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 then that can lead to that. So there's an arrhythmic condition where the heart is either beating very, very fast or slow, because that beating is letting go the heart, the blood to the systems where they are needed. So if it's not doing that function, there will be a sudden arrest, and those systems that needs those blood will not function, and they get suffocated and then die. The person will not have that sudden death. Now, what diseases are we looking at? If you have those coronary artery diseases.
Doctor, please, before you go for the diseases, there's a comment here asking, what are those things that make my heart beat faster? And I'm sure this person is asking you to, because when you exercise, your heart beats fast. Yes, it goes. So the person is asking, what are those things that can make my heart beat faster?
That's what I'm saying. Things like this exercise, when you do exercise.
Yes.
Now, if your heart is normal, it doesn't have, it will accommodate and adjust. But if there's problem that reduce that, it will not, adapt to the pressure, the need that the body needed for the heart to be missed. You will just, like, as you are running, there's the time you are running, if you are not keeping with the pace of that run, you will either fall or get out. That's exactly what is happening with the heart. So if there are other things you can, there's some medication that you take that will get the heart to. There are some other diseases that will narrow the supply. That coronary artery I'm talking about supplies blood to the heart. If something narrows the supply to that blood, to that heart, the heart will be, and then the heart can beat fast. If you miss obstruction somewhere, it will now try to, beat to overcome the obstruction down the line. So that's why it was always good. The people who say when you have hypertension, there are some blocks, the cholesterols, the lipids that tend to block the lumen of the blood vessels. This will block it. So if the heart is just beating to push it out, it can. Then when you have some unsavory information that somebody died, then your heart can boom. It can cause a lot of anxieties, and things that causes anxieties can cause. If your heart is at its best, your body can accommodate that. But if it is not already compromised, you now see it can't meet up with that condition, and that person suddenly died.
Let's take it up from there. You're trying to explain, okay, the heart needs to accommodate and adjust.
Yes.
Right? Now, it is advised that we exercise.
Yes.
In fact, when an individual goes into a fight-flight mode, your heart rate goes up. I think it's a natural thing. I'm not a doctor, I'm just saying, but you've agreed to that. It's a natural thing.
Yes.
Now, at what point do you get to know My heart is not adjusting. Help me, help me. My heart is carrying me to where I don't know. At what point?
You only know if you have a constant check. Okay? That what I'm saying, that some people have congenital diseases.
What does that mean?
Congenital is inborn. The things that are from birth, that genetically is determined as they are formed in the womb. Genetically, it is determined that they have that. They inherit it from their parents. Right? So if you have that, you may not know. Just like these people who are talking, most of them don't know that they have heart conditions. So you only know when you have this habit of checking up, knowing your health status, and then knowing where to go from. You can detect something that is abnormal and then try to sort it out. So that's the only way you can. Internal vigilance is the point. If you are driving a car, how do you know?
I was going to get to that car. I was going to say, Doc, but we drive cars. The only thing I know in a car, I don't know much, is when your timing belt, breaks in the middle of the road. It doesn't give you sign. But for other ones, you have sign. So I'm saying, is this slump and die syndrome, isn't it a misnomer? Didn't your body give you one or two? Which was why I asked you.
Because one number is short.
You understand? Which was why I asked you,
No.
When, at what point will your heart not adjust and you start crying, help me, oh?
You drive a car. Sometimes you hear knocking sound. You don't know. I say, okay, when I come back tomorrow, let me check. I come back tomorrow.
So you will agree with me that it's not so sudden.
The sudden is that it happens. But the truth is just if you look at it, it must have given you warning sign. Something like that hypertension. Some hypertensive things. Some people have, if their blood pressure rises, some have come down with headache. Some come down with dizziness. Some come down with yes. Some come down with palpitation. So some that comes with headache, they will ignore it. They will now give you to malaria and then take malaria drug. What your body system does at that point is just once you give you that warning sign and you didn't do something about it, say, hey, maybe I'm over-worrying myself. Maybe it's normal. At that point, that high blood pressure that your body is at, he sees it as normal. But it's abnormal. He will only give you that sign again until it goes beyond that. And if you didn't do something again, and you went and then go and take your paracetamol, it leaves you. You continue rising until up to a point that will now burst. The artery that supplies the brain, then you now have stroke. We are talking about the hemorrhage. That's part of sudden deaths. It can lead to sudden death. Stroke is another cause of sudden death. And at the end of the day, if you will not say that he didn't tell you, he has been telling you, but you are not able to sense the thing, and then you can't do it alone. It's always fine. That's why the old paracetamol jargon normally say, if symptom persists after 2 days.
Go see doctor.
Now I'm understanding that statement where they said health is wealth. Because honestly, this is in low key. I'm afraid.
Don't be. Come back.
Okay. Thank God. Let me not panic. I'm not going to panic. So I want to ask now, what should someone do immediately if they see someone collapsing? If I see somebody collapsing, what should I do immediately?
Yes, it's what we call cardiopulmonary resuscitation. That's what we call CPR.
Okay.
Fine. Well, then that's the best you can do for the person. And then await the ambulance arrival. You now ask me how many...
Are we talking Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
We're still talking.
Okay.
Yes. Honestly, waiting for ambulance. Okay.
Don't worry. As we are copying everything from them, we can copy that right. But that's the right thing to do.
But how do I do a CPR even before you?
How many people know CPR?
Yes.
No.
Okay, take us through just a crash course on CPR.
The point I'm trying to get about that CPR is just it's always. You see, my biggest problem with things is just half baked person is worse than the person doesn't know at all. So personally, I don't normally come all out to do that crash thing, but I always advise that we should get our critical care system up and then have this constant education, because if you look at majorly where you see people is within those sports facility, athletes. So we should be doing a coach up, a remedial courses on those things for them yearly so that they can help some people. In theaters where a lot of people come, in markets where a lot of people come, and then please, we should not copy the West.
But Dr. Nwachuku, sorry I just have to come in here. You're saying, what you're saying is correct. On paper, it's correct. But what I'm trying to say is, what are some low-hanging fruits? Because to educate people, make them aware, to get them to change their behavior is a long-term issue. We're saying, what are the low-hanging fruits? What can we do? We see someone collapsing now. What are some of the things we can do?
I've said it. The low-hanging fruits you can, the little one. I can give myself as an example. I tell you, I had an accident. And then the way I was putting, if they have thrown me out of that car like that, my spinal cord would have spared. Yeah. So the point is just like, because they were there asking me, come out, let's just drive. I said, please, because I already had something. No, I know. But, something in me says sorry. Then I tried finding an escape route and I left. So what I'm trying to say, some people may want to help. As I said, they would not carry that. Because every situation had a peculiar thing that go with it. The way you carry the patient will still may cause the death. First and foremost, the end thing is just like to open up the airways. Good. Anything that are trying to
somewhere, yeah.
Just open it. If he's wearing tie, loosen the tie. Good. Then if just open, get some things that will not call. Make sure that there is.
What about the issue where people will have to round up,
That's what I'm saying. Like, you try to let them get on, let the person have, and then as far as possible, place the person in a very good anatomical position. You ask me about anatomy.
You know me now.
I bet you know me. So that's why I didn't want to get out, because it was just it's a whole lot on his own. But that little you can open up the person. But my own problem is, if you were sudden death, start raising alarm. People came and held the car. They were able to break the glass, got her out, and then called the ambulance. The ambulance came. The woman is still alive. But ordinarily, if nobody is there, the woman will have gone through that. So the thing, I'm just like saying that our critical care had to be up. Those ambulance services, where the passerby and onlookers can do those little things they can do, then they should pass it on to. Because first few minutes of that person's attack may determine what the person will come along.
Yeah.
They may just mess up the case by the time he's arriving at the place where they will have. So that's what I'm trying to get at. If you are there, the best you can do, not videoing the thing and sending it to what the nearest WhatsApp. But if there should be a form of education about the nearest health center around every vicinity that we can always contact.
Can I take you up on health centers, primary health care? How robust is it in Nigeria? In ENUGU. How robust? Because you said, okay, you've mentioned the low-hanging fruit, and then you said to access medical care if such things happen at health centers. My question to you is, how robust do we even have doctors at these health centers?
No, ideally, doctors are not primarily, ordinarily constant features in primary health centers, right? So, but in high pinnacle of the primary health center clinic, a doctor may be present there. Now, and then that's where we call those other things that when the district health system in Enugu State has to come about, you have cottage hospitals. In those cottage hospitals, you're supposed to have doctors, about 5 of them there. But in primary health center, the highest of it is comprehensive health center. You don't see them often. In fact, in Enugu, there's one in Obopa. UNT is just, there you see doctors. But in other primary health centers, you rarely will see. But where you see them, fine. But what I'm trying to say, not just primary health centers. Those primary health centers, not just doctors. The other health care professionals.
You're saying nurses are equipped to handle such health emergencies?
Sure, of course.
Without getting any backlash from any quarters?
A backlash? No. They are better than those onlookers. They're better than those onlookers that are trained in some. Then they are better to handle the things. they can try to make sure that those things are open, the airways are open, that some fluid, that if the person has lost some fluid, they can try to replace the fluid and keep person breathing till the person gets on. Then in those health centers, you may have community health extension workers who are there, who are trained. Some try to get out, but all of them know that's a referral system, and they know the next set of people to call online. That's why you get to them. They will now can trace back to where it can be gotten.
Okay, so doctor, we've seen the cases happen here in Nigeria, and it's becoming a trend, and we've seen it. I know you've discussed the causes, but broadly, I want us to discuss it in Nigeria. On a lighter note, could the high cost of fuel be part of the reason why people slump and die? But let's use Nigeria as a factor. We've seen it happen. So what are those factors in Nigeria that can be the reason why people slump and die?
The truth is just like some studies have said that the movement from rural to urban areas had a hand in it, has a hand in it. Then the other one they talked about, this is our westernization. That's increase in consuming processed food. That's increased our rate of taking in salts, and then some cholesterols that can worsen the state. So they equally try to look at some of the way some diseases happen, some infections that can predispose us to that. That's what, if you check out when, what's the name, COVID came, a lot of people went. Why? Because they have underlying disease. And then this infection just worsened the thing and then take them out.
Okay, Dr. Nwachukwu, pardon me. I guess what my colleague is trying to say is that you've mentioned a lot of underlying illnesses and internal issues that can bring about this, health emergency. We are trying to say, what are some of the external?
The external?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some of the external issues? Which was why he mentioned the fuel issue.
The fuel issue is one of the social problems.
Maybe that's the question. The social problem that can cause this.
It is. Now you can look at the heavy alcohol consumption. Yes. Smoking.
Igbo or just?
But then when you now go to the barbars, those ones can tip you off to that. Then substance abuses, they can tip you off. Then other things, you can really, this hypertension, some drugs, allergy to some drugs can tip you off to that. Then asthma. Because it has to do with the breathing. So, and then if you are a patient that's down with asthma, you should at least just part of the preventive things you are like trying to get at. You should do an extra inhaler in your pocket so that if somebody comes on and then see you getting on, he can lay on that and then do the puff puff for you. This can be part of what can save the soul. Are you getting me? So. An extra inhaler in the pocket can do the magic. So if you are having this, you said I shouldn't go to underline, but no,
you can't.
As well, you can go now. You can go.
The hypertension, the rate of hypertension those days is getting on. If you're not key with your hypertensive, treatments and monitoring, you are destined to come with this because it may give you stroke that will just like end your life.
Dr. Nwachukwu, not just you, other doctors, professors that come in to talk to us concerning whatever that has to do with health, there's this one recurrent decimal, then that's constant check. Be it your bladder, be it your kidney, be it your lungs, be it whatever, they advocate constant check. Now it's as if they have been talking and no one is listening, because people really don't check until it goes bad, then they present when it's really bad. What do you think we can do? Not just, all stakeholders.
No, you always see whenever you don't fight before.
It depends on the kind of fight.
That's what I'm saying. For those primary school, if you fight the fight where you just want to, people come separate. you won't do people because you don't want fight. But the way you come fight,
and there's nobody to
they cheer you on. Tomorrow, if you see fights, you go say, make me they don't come. So the point I'm trying to make is just like this, because we won't try fights, that's why we are just clothing with check. Check is, they said, Zabuda would normally say that provision store is better than kiosk. Prevention is always better and cheaper than cure. So you should try to do that.
How can we instill this in policy? Because I notice people don't do things except they are compelled to do that. How can we put it in policy such that it will work and people are compelled to go for these regular checks?
Part of it is just like, but mine is just like in Igbo parlance, they said, Uzi something that you've out of your own volition gets on, is you do it with all your heart. It's better you adapt it. But still, I have come to appreciate in this world is what is enforced by law enforcement agents. People tend to, if people, the MOT people are around the traffic lights, people will queue. Once they are out, people will not obey. So, but the truth is still, my own worry about some of those enforced check is that it will lead to some overdiagnosis. It will lead to some people false positives. So, take for instance, I would have said constant check enforcing that people should do EEG, ECG, as if you are to do some sporting activity, then you should do your ECG before you are allowed to do that. Then if you are getting into somewhere, some profession, you're supposed to do that before you get on. This will now determine people who have these risk factors that you can now try to say, no, don't, and you monitor them. Again, do you know that more male tend to slump and die than female in a ratio of 2:1? And age has a factor to play. As you grow older, the incidence increases. Now, people less than 35 years is scarcely happened within them. Then the incidence is about 0.01 per 1,000 head population per year. Then, if the person now approaches 60 years, it becomes 2 person dies out of 1,000 per year. Then for elderly, you now have 200 dying out of 1,000 per head in a year. You now see that this work on, as people get older, they tend to be asked for this check to increase, so it will help in reducing the incidence. You see, so if you now, because we're talking about activity, remember again, if you don't do exercise, you are in trouble. You are calling the slump and die thing. You will now have all the risk factors we are talking about. The lipid will accumulate, your tightness will come, and then you're more likely going to have slump and die, because sedentary lifestyle is a risk factor, and then it enhances and fuels slump and die syndrome. So you will now develop exercise, and when you are exercising, some of those cholesterol that are in your lumen that narrows your blood from flowing freely in the vessels, they will be eaten up during those exercise, and your lumen, the vessels lumen, will be freer. So it is this internally, and I always say, if some of us that do birthdays, they can inculcate changing their birthday cakes to birthday check. That money that you're using for doing your birthday cake, use it and then do a check for yourself.
And your friends.
Yes. And that will help you a great lot. Because if you watch, even the BVN is tied to your birthday. Even your, license is tied to your, so they actually want to increase that conscience. Once you are doing that birthday, you remember that your international passport is going to expire. This is going to expire. So if we now develop that your own body is allergic or likely to slump and die, then you need to go and check. In our car system, we will not say every 3 months. If you drive a car for 3 months, you will take it to do servicing, and then you change the oil. Why wouldn't you do at least yearly for some people who don't have it? Remember, I said that this slump and die runs in family. If your father, if your mother, or any relative had this case of slump and die, you have the internal duty to have this check on you to dictate if you really have it, because a child had a 50% chance of inheriting it from the parents. So if some people in your family are slumping and die, you should try and do everything to make sure that those risk factors are not there. The ones that you bestowed on yourself and the ones that are bestowed on you by nature. But remember again, when we talk about smoking, smoking is not just the one that you smoke. Staying where there's smoke, you are equally liable to die young.
Joshua, it came from a deep place.
Like, just to even be around them is a big issue.
But remember, the guy just like pick it on, take it out. All others shares in inhaling. And so, if you are asking you, have you smoked? Don't say you haven't, because if you swear, you will die. Because you have smoked. Wow. Once you inhale it, and that's what we call second-hand smoking. And so, this can deposit some things that can be injurious to your health, that can, over time, predispose you to having slump and die.
Okay, so doctor, I know you've explained, first of all, having to, but I want to talk about prevention. How can I prevent this? Because it's scary. I won't lie to you. It's scary. So how can I put myself in a safe position and prevent these things?
Okay. Just like we'll try to say, is internal check. You should do check. They say early diagnosis and prompt treatments can definitely solve the problem. Then you try to, if you're having chronic diseases like hypertension, diabetes, kidney disease, you should try to be religiously faithful to your treatments. If you are religiously following up with your treatments, orthodox treatments, not these ones they give you, you are less likely to have slump and die. Then avoid what's it called? The sedentary lifestyle, from chair to car, from car to house, you know. So you will now try to make out time, walk, do some mild exercise. You know, people, children, they are not doing something that's these old things that people, it to swell.
Ah, we spoke about this a while ago.
Then doing skipping.
Yeah. Swell.
Yeah, swell. You know, these are a form of little exercise that you can do. So you should inculcate that. Then another thing is just like reduce intake of salts.
Salt is that powerful?
It is, and those salts is not the ones, just the ones on table. Your Maggi, your condiments, they have lots of hidden salts in it. So in fact, a research work has said and confirmed that people who eat out in restaurants are likely to have hypertension more than people who eat homemade food.
So please say that again. say it again. I have some people that need to hear it that did not hear it. No, I just have a lot of people that need to hear it. So say it again. Please just say it again.
The research has already been proven.
Please, where was this research carried out? Nigeria?
Google it.
Nigeria? I mean the setting. Was it in Nigeria or in the West?
Nigeria has collaborated it. The West, the Americans, it's all over. Just Google it. And you'll see that people who eat in restaurants and processed food are more likely to have hypertension more than people who eat homemade foods. And then if you are doing that homemade food, you should reduce your hand in the condiments that you put, because some of these pre-made condiments had some hidden sauce in it. So you can go the natural thing, the grease, the curly leaves instead of the packet one. You know, you can still get what you want.
Organically.
Exactly.
I think it's high time for me to start cooking again. I'm going back to the kitchen.
All right, Dr. Wanchigo, very quickly, I have this question. So, you mentioned something about adherence. If you have an underlying ailment that's been diagnosed, you have to be judicious. You have to be adherent to your treatment. And now we're talking about people who are seemingly healthy, you know, going for checks and things like that. And I'll go back to the car analogy. All right, people will tell you that they are suspecting something. The car has not actually broken down, but they are hearing a few noises that were not there. But when they take it to the mechanic just doesn't seem to be able to diagnose what's wrong with the car until the car eventually breaks down and it's obvious. And then they'll say, okay, is this? You think that is the same thing with the health sector, where someone says to the doctor, I have this ringing, I'm feeling somehow, my heart is doing me jiggy-jiggy. Is there the fear that they will not be properly diagnosed? There's a probability of being misdiagnosed at that point, and they'll rather wait until it is apparent before they go. What is your thought on this?
No, you're absolutely correct, because that's human thing. It's you. If in Nigeria, a lot of cars are grounded because so many bad mechanics would have killed your car of misdiagnosis. And then they will not, if after losing some nuts, they will not tight and give you some leftovers. Say that these white people that put those ones, are they mad? Say that one is not at work. So you're right. The thing is also seek for second opinion. Ask some other, even the third one. In council of 2 or 3, you hardly go wrong. So once you see things and you're not, it's still like that. If you take your listen to a mechanic workshop and you see that it's not giving you what you want, look for another person and then consult. Even if when they give you, try second opinion is allowed. I mean, it's just being entirely conscious, but get it and get it right.
All right.
And then you don't wait. Don't feel if you see something that is, don't worry, go, nothing wrong with you. Ask another person, please. And then try and be sure of who you are asking. That they say, mechanic, you know. So every other person are wearing white coats. People are going to the market with their white coats. No problem. There are doctors, there are a lot of doctors, but they are still fake among the doctors. So people, there's this thing they said, there's no amount of time or duration a lizard that will be in the bush. It will make it to be an alligator. So a lot of people would have been working in the hospital, but you don't know what they are doing in the hospital. And then they will not come to the home and they become doctor because they are working. So if you consult such person, sorry, you always get that lashback. But there's a process and procedures. There are some people who are not even in the process of diagnosis. And then you lay everything on them. You know, and there are some processes things that are happening that people will call you on phone and tell you, I'm having these symptoms. What will I do? I will tell you, I won't tell you anything. Because I'm not saying, I will see you. I'm not serious notes. Unless I have seen you before. Yeah. But some people will now, if I now prescribe on the phone, the person will now say, hey, I saw a doctor. You didn't see a doctor, you had a doctor. And so, and then you now say that you didn't see a doctor. And then you will religiously follow that. The doctor has said that. No, I said, no, I won't. I must be sure of what I'm doing. So this can worsen the issue. So the person will now go, and then at the person's unguarded moment, it will strike. So if you have the same thing in spirit of prevention, your father, your mother had this, move forward. If your father or your mother die of hypertension or of diabetes, start on time to check yourself to see if it is, because this one runs in family. So if it's sudden death, it runs in family. Check your heart, the status of your heart, the lungs, and then try as much as possible again. This washing of hand is equally wonderful. I just like say that infective myocarditis and endocarditis, which are the infections of the heart, will always equally lead to slump and die. They have a high percentage of the causes of slump and die that they can. So if you wash your hand properly and then do the personal hygiene up it and your environmental hygiene up it, then you are home and dry. Again, if you now look at where we're coming from, just what you were saying, now this urban rural-urban migration. There are a lot of urban slump around. There's no ventilation. There's no, and some of the buildings that are in those shanty areas, I wouldn't want to mention. But if you go there, they don't have toilets. And this can. Remember again, if you have a conditions that are other than lungs and heart, like epilepsy, epilepsy can knock you down and then cause you to have slump and die. So if you are taking your drugs for epilepsy, you should keep faith to it. And then only stop it when a doctor said that. Okay? Because it can be a cause. Then meningitis, brain abscess, somebody who have toothache, abscess can form in your brain and that can cause slump and die. Because that's hole in your jaw is a direct opening to the brain.
You're saying that any medical issue can potentially cause slump and die? Because you've mentioned a whole lot from the head down to the feet. You're saying that any ailment that will be infection can potentially cause slump and die. Let's talk palpitations.
Palpitations?
Is it normal for someone to feel his or her heartbeat?
No.
And when someone feels his or her heartbeat without any provocation, physical, emotional provocation, what should the person do?
Consult your doctor.
Okay.
That's straight. Because if you're doing things that you don't understand, you don't need to hear your heartbeat. It's not normal. But once you start doing that, there is something underlying cause that must have predisposed you to having it. Then allow them to do that. Those that are trained to go the whole to tell you, okay, don't worry. Okay, maybe these drugs, maybe taking coffee can just like get you down there. Then by the person, that's why it's properly to have a correct, full-fledged medical examination. That person do history, ask you, what did you eat? How does it come? When did you normally get it? Do you have this? By the time he has...
It's just the economic implications.
There are a lot of factors.
It's the economic implications.
Time.
Yes,
but I still tell you, you will still pay dearly.
But is there like a battery of tests that are affordable, even if you're not able to do
Or
an
the
MRI?
yes.
At least you can do. You mentioned ECG. What's ECG, by the way?
ECG, electrocardiogram.
For the heart.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there a battery of tests that you can say, okay, this is the super pack,
Yeah.
and this is the economy pack.
This is the indomitable.
I say go behind me, say that. You can't lure me to this. See, it doesn't really make sense. So, say me, oh Lord, what are you?
But they can tell you, okay, because we're suspecting you're having probably heart issues, you can go for an MRI. And we know MRI, you go drop 100K or something. But rather go for ECG. ECG is like...
Yes, this is like 20K.
Medicine is not all about that. What I would try to tell you is just like, for the economy, okay, see any public hospitals, if especially the tertiary hospital. If you're around here, go to places like UNTH or any teaching hospital, right? So there, people, you will not see, there's not a personal thing. Somebody is not sending you because of what you may feel that he's getting, if that's your problem.
There's something that came to mind before I forget. Can someone actually walk into a hospital and say, I want to have this test or that test without being referred from a doctor? For example, someone listening on this interview can say, okay, I felt palpitation the other day. Let me just go and get an ECG.
Yes.
The person can access that service without any referral from a doctor?
Or written paper from a doctor.
They will always ask you. They will always ask you to see a doctor.
But do patients have the right to say, I want to do this test based on the information they have?
No. The level of healthcare, that's what we call patient centered or client centered care. You are not at wrong.
Okay.
It's you.
Okay.
So, but what I'm trying to say to you, what it means that having conversation with your doctor, you will say, okay, wow, you are having this, rather do this one than doing this. Then you now have an informed decision to make.
Okay, doctor helps you narrow it down.
Exactly. Tell you, in addition to this, if you're having this, it may not just be this that is causing that. The palpitation may be...
So it's safe to see your doctor.
Exactly. In as much as you want that, get that counsel from him, and then no. Some are not relevant. Something you want to... there are things that you can dispense with just history. You may not get to MRI. Okay? You can just dispense it with that. And then we always cut our own clothes according to cloth, our own coats according to clothes. We don't cut it according to size. In medical world, the ideal medical person will not kill you or breed you to death because he wants to help you out. No. So you always know the patient's status and know how to pitch it out, and the person will not get the thing that he wants.
Doctor, so before we let you go, because of time, this has been really enlightening. I won't even lie.
Scaringly enlightening.
Yes, scarily. Add that word in cap locks. So before we let you go, in your own medical opinion, what are the key steps Nigeria should take, both on an individual and public health level, to mitigate the risk of sudden death?
I'll start from the globally, as in from the corporate world, governments. I strongly beg and I'm pleading that our critical care services should be looked into. The ambulance services, how people are treated. I believe that if the government will look in that, when I just mentioned the ambulance services, you just were like, am I in Nigeria? Am I in the world? Yeah. So we should draw that down to be. Let ambulance services be readily available. So people can call once they notice that, and then it will help save a whole lot of situation that people can't get to. Now, then on individual basis, we've already talked a lot about, you checking for yourself, do that internal check. If possible, adapt this, changing your birthday cakes to birthday checks. Then try and encourage. But what still, if you have had a family history of this disease, you should try as much as possible to even double check. Then, environmentally, people should always know what they eat and where they come from. In terms of content, because excess ingestion of salts and some other and fats is not good for all of us, because it's a narrow way to slump and die. So they will narrow this, your breathing, and if you are having conditions like asthma, anytime you are going out, don't miss putting a spare inhaler. Because you can. Then try to avoid some things that you are allergic to.
All right, Dr. Nwachukwu, we are out of time. I wish I had you longer, because I wanted to take you up on that ambulance services. But what was just ringing on in my head was, how schools these days have taken over transportation. They provide buses to convey their students. I'm wondering what's holding hospitals to provide ambulance services, not just for corpses, but for emergency response.
It's not for corpses.
It's not for corpses.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, thank you so much. But then you find out that what we call ambulance here
is to come and carry.
So when I mention hearses, people, nobody will understand what I mean. But when you mention ambulance, you're saying somebody has died. All right, so our aim here is to communicate, which is what we try to do. Thank you so much, Dr. Nwachukwu.
So
always a pleasure to have you here. I wish I had you here longer. You're lucky.
I think you are. You say you want to take me up, I'll fly with you. Don't worry.
Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine for the opportunity. And I pray that with this, a lot more would have been dragged out of the jaws of slump and dying syndrome. Please, internal check is the thing.
Thank you so very much. All right, that's the much we can have for this segment. And please, do go check on yourself. I know the economy is biting hard, but it's best to be safe than to be sorry. Don't go anywhere, and don't forget, this is the Signature TV New Day. Head on over to our social media platforms at Signature TV Official. Like, share, comment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more interesting topics.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have change behavior. And that change in behavior is evident that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do swell. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Signature. This is Signature Television, but New Day. Forgive me, I like to say Signature Morning, but you understand. You understand. So yes, this is still New Day on Signature Television. If you're just joining us, well, welcome. And if you've been with us, I'm sure you've been enjoying all we've been giving you. I mean, that interview with the doctor was amazing. Come on. You can go back to all of our social media platforms. You will see that interview there, especially on Facebook and on YouTube. On Instagram, you'll see a little bit of shots and TikToks there about, understand how we do it now. But please go back to YouTube, watch, ask questions. We can always relate your questions back to the doctors and we get your response back to you. So moving over, you know how we do. We give you information about things happening in and around the world that you live in. So Sergio Mendes, Grammy-winning Brazilian music legend, dies at 83. Just in case you don't know him, we're giving you this. So Sergio Mendes, the celebrated Brazilian musician whose 1966 hit Mas Que Nada made him global superstar and helped launch a long Grammy-winning career, has died after months battling the effect of long COVID. He was 38 years old. The death of the Brazilian pianist, songwriter, and arranger was confirmed in a statement by his family. His wife and musical partner for the past 54 years. 54 years is a lot of years. My goodness. This shows dedication and commitment to his craft. Gracia Laporia Mendes was by his side. Oh, that was amazing. Imagine dying with your fractures. Well, as well as gets to experience no at all. See again, as where he is loving children. The statement Friday said Mendes last performed in November 2023 to sold out and widely enthusiastic houses in Paris. Yes. London and Barcelona. Mendes was born in Niterói, Rio de Janeiro, sister city, and studied classical music as a conservatory before joining jazz group. So if your child wants to study music, allow them. This is for African parents. I see one is already looking at me. I was going to ask you, are you talking about African parents? Yes, now. My daughter must be a doctor. A medical doctor. My son must be a lawyer. We all believe that there's money in that place. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, he began playing bossa nova as the genre was heating up in Rio nightclub scene with Antonio Carlos Jobim, Joe Gilberto, and others. Mendes' family said they will provide details regarding funeral and memorial memorial services at a later date. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
The guy lived a full life.
He really did. R.I.P. to him. A legend has gone. Yeah.
Condolences to his family.
Yes. Okay, so moving over to the next story, of course, again.
Josh, let me take the second
Of course,
story
now, enjoy.
Okay, so 2 astronauts are left behind in space as Boeing's troubled capsule returns to Earth empty.
That's scary.
So it turns out Boeing's first astronaut mission ended Friday night with an empty capsule landing and 2 test pilots still in space, left behind until next year because NASA judged their return too risky. So I'm thinking in my head, were they left in a space station or just in space?
They were left in a space station, hopefully.
All right, so 6 hours after departing the International Space Station, Starliner parachuted into New Mexico's White Sands Missile Range, descending on autopilot through the desert darkness. This was an uneventful close to a drama that began with the June launch of Boeing's long-delayed crew debut and quickly escalated into a dragged-out cliffhanger of a mission stricken by thruster failures and helium leaks. I'm sure the geeks will understand this.
Yes, the people who are in it, who are just giving you information.
Well, for others who are normal, you can look it up.
Use Google.
Also, for months, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams' return was in question as engineers struggled to understand the capsule's problems. Boeing insisted after extensive testing that Starliner was safe to bring the 2 home, but NASA disagreed and booked a flight with SpaceX instead. Interesting. Okay. Their SpaceX ride won't launch until the end of this month, which means they'll be up there until February, more than 8 months after blasting off on what should have been a quick trip. NASA will decide today if Boeing's new capsule is safe enough to fly 2 astronauts back from space.
Amazing.
This is, I don't even know what to say. Like, these guys, are they like floating in space?
No, hopefully they are not. Probably they'll be in one of this their
space station.
Yes.
But you know, it's our idea of Star Trek that we are using.
It will judge your distance, honestly, because you know, after you've watched so much Star Trek, you don't believe they are floating.
I wish guys are safe, really.
Yeah, we're praying for you guys, and when you come back to Earth, you watch this and see that we really did pray for you.
They do really make it back to Earth. They are celebrities already.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right.
Now, so moving over to the next story, a rare copy of the U.S. Constitution went missing for centuries. I mean, this is alarming. I mean, now it's being auctioned for millions. I mean, it went missing for centuries, and now it's been auctioned for
remember
millions.
that film by Nicolas Cage? I think National Treasure. I think that's the name of the film.
Something
the
like
guy
that
went and stole the...
Something like that too is happening here. So, historical documents appraiser and collector Seth Kala spreads a broad sheet of paper across the decks. It's in good condition that he can handle it carefully with clean and bare hands. There are just few creases and tiny decolorations, even though it's just a few weeks shy of 237 years old.
Oh, God.
Wow. How did they even know that it's 270?
No, there's carbon dating
yes, it's true.
These guys, they know how to assess it. They'll get fossils, right?
Yeah.
And then carbon date it back to, but don't ask me if they are correct or not.
Why shouldn't I ask?
Who we ask?
Okay, so moving on. It's 273 years old and has spent who knows how long inside a filing cabinet in North Carolina. So at the top of the first page are similar words, but in regular type instead of the sweeping Gothic script we're used to seeing. We are the people. And the people will get a chance to bid for this copy of the U.S. Constitution, the only of its type thought to be in a private hand, at a sale by bronc auction on September 28 in Arstrive, North Carolina. The minimum bid for the auction of $1 million has already been made. There is no minimum price that must be reached There is no minimum price that must be reached. This copy was printed after the Constitutional Convention finished drafting the proposed framework of the nation's government in 1787 and sent to the Congress of the ineffective first American government under the Articles of Confederation, requesting they send it to the states to be rectified by the people. It's one of the about 100 copies printed by the Secretary of the Congress, Charles Thompson. Just 8 are known to still exist, and other 7 are publicly owned. Wow. I mean, $1 million.
I don't know about you, but if something went missing,
yes,
and was found,
yes,
shouldn't some people be liable?
Well, but 273 years ago, I mean, if
like let's
assume that I was the one who took it then 273 years ago. I mean, it would be my generation. Do you want to go and arrest my grand raised to power 10? Exactly. So
but why auction it though?
Because it's a treasure.
Return it to
will you return it?
I'm in Nigeria.
Yeah, wow.
All right, moving on. Ruins of a long sunken Greek village emerge as drought saps a vital reservoir. You like this? Like ghosts from the past, sunken villages at the bottom of water reservoirs are not meant to be seen. But the ruins of Kalio in the mountains of central Greece are becoming very much visible, and they have a warning to deliver. As an unprecedented drought induced by climate change rampages across much of southern Europe this summer, reserves at the artificial lake Mornos, the biggest of the 4 reservoirs, I beg your pardon, I'll take that again. The biggest of the 4 reservoirs supplying drinking water to Greece's capital, Athens, have hit their lowest in 16 years. The receding waters have exposed what was left of Kalio, a village submerged in the late 1970s. Wow, quite recently, I must say, to create the reservoir some 200 kilometers, that's 125 miles from Athens. Colonies of freshwater mussels sprout from cracks in the muddy stonework. The now empty shells tinkling like wind chimes in the breeze, blending with the sound of cowbells from herds grazing around the lake. This sounds a little bit poetic, but I get what they're trying to say. But if the drought continues and no action is taken, Athens could run out of water in about 4 years. Officials advise Athenians to be conscious of their water consumption and preserve when they can. Okay, so here we're talking about fuel scarcity. And people are talking about water scarcity.
Well, you know, different regions with different problems. If not for, permit me to say, the government's, the lack of transparency from the government and all of that in Nigeria that we know and we all are suffering from. I mean, Nigeria is a good country.
But I tell you, sometimes when you hear things like this or you read things like this, you just go ahead and kneel down and say, God, I thank you.
Like, we're not suffering from any of these things. Just governments, transparency from governments to the people.
Oh, wow. But this is just like, you know, the city of Pompeii that was covered with volcanic soot and all that, and one was buried. It just brings a lot of that to mind, really. How many other civilizations, you know, have been submerged by water or by soot or by land? You never know.
Let's just thank God for where we are. Honestly.
All right. Internet Watch is up next. When we come back, please do stay with us.
Good morning and welcome to Internet Watch. I'm your host, Joshua Oritogun, bringing you the latest updates on global happenings, trends, and developments in the world. Our first story today focuses on Nigeria's president, Bola Tinubu, who recently made headlines during his official visit to China. In a series of high-levels meetings, Tinubu pledged significant reforms aimed at enhancing Nigeria's infrastructure and economic framework. This visit marks a pivotal moment as Nigeria seeks to strengthen its ties with one of the world's largest economy. During his discussion with Chinese officials, Tinubu highlighted Nigerians' need for improved infrastructure, particularly in energy, transportation, and telecommunication. The president emphasized the importance of collaboration between Nigeria and China in modernizing key sectors to stimulate economic growth and improve the quality of life for Nigerians. Now, this move is seen as part of the broader plan to foster economic diversification, ensuring that Nigeria is not only overly reliant on oil revenues, but is exploring new partnerships that could open doors for technological advancement and industrial expansion. I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and the person was like, you sign a deal with the Chinese and they will confuse you with almost half of the things that are written on that, agreement. You see, they will borrow you money they know you can't pay back. But that's not what we're saying right now. We're happy for Nigeria. We're happy for this this new, what will I say, agreement or into bed business. But stay tuned as we dive into the comment section. Noah Fresh is saying, I promise good governance. President Tinubu tells Nigerians in China. That was in quote. So he's the one, he is one of the reasons why those Nigerians left home and went to China. Kweku the traveler. Well, Tinubu promising people outside the country that he's promising, you are the reason why they left, sir. That's what he's saying. Austin, not JJ, is saying, no be who they are alive, they see good governance. I mean, let me not say anything about this. Ben Samuel is saying, promise. While people in Nigeria are struggling with severe hardship and hunger, someone was caught stealing bread just 2 days ago simply to survive. Aside from those directly benefiting, APC has stripped the purchasing power of the entire population. Under the same government, an appointed minister openly threatened elected governors to set fire in other states, with no response from the House of Representatives or the presidency. Unlike the swift reaction to a careless woman in Canada, a group of hypocrites. Honestly, I mean, we already know this. Wiki came out to say he was going to set fire on all the governors or PDP governors that are supporting Fubara. So Hood Nigga is saying Buhari said the same. Like, we've heard it before. It's not new. This is not the first time we're hearing it. So, of course. Moving over, I have Olubumi. Olubumi is saying it's better that the president come home first before other trips. As for me, I'm waiting for him to come back and tell us how much we are going to buy fuel, because it's a big deal. Fuel is 1,200, in some places is 1,000, is 900. In fact, if the 855 naira they promised, we've not even gotten it for that one. Emmanuel Brownson is saying, many of us want him to succeed, but I doubt if he has a good team and if the government is moving in the right direction. The new pump price of petrol has once again caused a higher cost of goods and services. It is very difficult being a Nigerian living in Nigeria. I mean, it's difficult. It's hard. If you go out on the streets now, you won't find vehicles to even take you to work this morning. Better work from home. Uptown of Lagos is saying, you mean APC party members in China? Because it cannot be the whole Nigerians that are promising this. Voice of Conscience is saying, creating mass poverty is not a reform. Claiming subsidy is gone while NNPC claimed they pay for differential is not reform. Sharing rice is not a reform. Appointing Tinubu former commissioners as ministers is not a reform. Appointing Yorubas as head of agency is not reform. We should even really discuss what reform is and who are those responsible for it. Lastly, on my comment section, I have Jegede Jumoke. She's saying, a working president, I hail. The entire nation can feel his good governance right now. Kudos. I'm just going to leave you to interpret that, whether you think it's sarcasm or not. I'm not going to go there. I'm just leaving you to that. So, for our second story today, the federal government, I know, before you say, why is this boy just, I'm not attacking the federal government. It's just, I go online and I'm trying to get things to, bring to you guys. And these are the news I'm getting every day, every time. So, for our second story, the federal government has officially stated that there is no age limit for students taking the National Examination Council, NECO, and West African Examination Council, the WAEC exam. So, this clarification addresses recent concerns, ensuring that students of all ages are eligible to participate in the key national exams. I mean, so no more gifted kids, but are we a joke to these guys? Somebody came out to say this, somebody is coming out to debunk it, somebody is saying this from the same federal government. Comment section right away. So I have Heaven Bond is saying minister and information for JAM. Who we go believe? Like, let's just clear it. Who am I supposed to believe? Which should we believe? Is it the minister or minister and information, or from JAM? Which of them should we believe? This country. Moving over, I have Adewale. Adewale is saying set of Confucianists. You people are just confused. I mean, is it so difficult to even come out as one front? You guys are like united. Is it that difficult? I mean, moving over to the next comment, I have 000 said, then who did? Which is a very good question. So if you guys are saying we don't know how it happened or where this information is coming from, then who did? Who made that announcement? And lastly, I have Nigeria is a seasonal movie. Every episode is always interesting, but it's no longer interesting. It's no longer funny. People are hungry. People are dying, literally. This is not even a joke anymore. This is not meme. This is not a meme. People are dying. People are passing through a lot. Well, as we wrap up today's Internet Watch, let's take a moment to focus on hope. In challenging times, hope is what keeps us moving forward and inspires us to believe in better days ahead. It's the light that guides us through uncertainty and the strength that helps us persevere. So whether you're tackling a new project or navigating life's ups and downs, trying to get fuel or probably in the market and can't believe what the prices are saying, keep hope in your tool tick. This too shall pass. I'm Joshua Oritogun. Remember, no matter what you're facing, hold on to hope. It is a powerful force and can transform challenges into opportunities. Until next time, stay hopeful and stay inspired.
Lights, camera, action! Dive into the world of entertainment with me, Quinsley Rowland, as your host, as we uncover all the glitz, glamour, and gossip, all entertainment news. And we have Nigerian singer Tems has brought her colleague Ira Star on stage for a surprise performance. The two superstars performed together in New York during Tems' ongoing tour. Tems, who is currently on tour across America, also brought American singers like J. Cole, John Legend, and others on stage. However, the highlight of her New York show was the moment she brought her Nigerian colleague, Ira Star, on stage to perform one of her songs. In a trending post on social media, the duo were cheered by the crowd as they performed together in a moment that showcased their friendship and support for each other. Tems and Ira Star are among Nigeria's finest global exports, whose music has won them notable awards and millions of fans. And we have popular Nigerian singer Daniel Oyebanjo, popularly known as his stage name D'banj, has entertained passengers on the Lagos Blue Line train and BRT bus. The singer, who was on board the public transportation system, and surprised the commuters with free concerts and gifts. D'banj, in the now trending post on social media, danced with an elderly woman on the train while other passengers sang a track from his new album, The Entertainer. He traveled along with passengers from Leventis bus stop to Marina train station and then to National Theatre station. In an act of generosity, D'banj covered the transportation costs for passengers, loading their cowrie carts with fare. And we have singer Charlie Poppy has advised his fellow artists to charge according to their values. He stated this while addressing the debate over high fee charged by Nigerian artists. Speaking in an interview, the singer noted that an artist's value is linked to the success and reach of their music, while disputing and noting that Nigerian artists have overpriced themselves out of the local market. He emphasized that artists who achieve similar streaming as American artists should charge comparable fees. And we have an Atlanta rapper, Richie Homie Kwan, whose real name is DeQuantis Devontae Lamar, has died at 34. His death was confirmed by Fulton County Medical Examiner. According to reporters, Kwan's girlfriend came back home and found him unresponsive.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, so in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning